Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 156 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast is coming at you live. I am your host, the masterful and maniacal Moods. Yeah. And of course, I have my two junior maniacs by my side. First up, we have the Mexican Monsoon, Double Shot J, aka JP. And last up, we have the Crying Freeman, representing the burbs 45 minutes out of Chi-Town, the Jew, Jeremy. What's going on, guys?
Not your strongest intro, but I'll let you slide.
Hey, fuck you, man! Who put this thing together? Me! That's who!
Not the most original idea there, bro. Couldn't come up with like our scalping homie or something like that. Come on, man. Gotta give
Yeah, because that sounded so original.
It's the same fucking thing, Jeremy.
All right.
I always, you know, it's funny. It's funny that you tend to criticize those. You do them.
You were original the last couple. You were pretty good.
You are such a dick.
No, all I say is all right. Welcome everybody on the interwebs. That's all I say, like an idiot.
Dude,
So
I'm not trying to fucking reinvent bread every time I do it. I have a life. I don't fucking.
Reinvent bread.
I don't plan these things out like a week before and shit. It's like spur of the moment shit, dude.
All right.
But
I'm still sick.
Still?
Yeah, I was sick last week on last week's show too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where the fuck were you last week, Jeremy?
I was actually had a social life for once.
Yeah, no, but actually, what were you doing?
Besides working.
No. What were you
I
doing?
went out with some friends from high school.
No, I know, but what were you doing? Would you guys go to a club? Did you go to a movie?
We went to a bar.
There you go. It's not hard to answer, dude. Fuck.
Jesus.
What'd you guys talk about?
Well, I haven't seen them since high school, so it's been like 7 years. So I don't know, life stuff.
Did you go to a pub or an actual bar?
A bar?
Wow, crazy. You guys do some dancing and shit?
Oh yeah, because you could totally see me doing that.
Hey, man, I don't know. You just said friends. I don't know if these are girlfriends or guy friends or.
They're girlfriends.
Well, there you go. So you
Both of them are girls?
Yeah.
Are you gay?
No.
You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
I was gonna say, were you at a gay bar? I was gonna ask.
So what are they doing in life? Are they rich and famous?
No. But they have a more stable job than me, so.
What do they do?
One works in real estate and the other one does like analytical stuff, math analytical kind of stuff.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was okay.
You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
You gonna hang out with them again?
Probably, but not often.
So what prompted this?
I don't know. They
this
just said
meeting
that
up?
I haven't seen them in a while, so it was kind of just spur of the moment kind of thing.
You don't seem very enthused.
Interesting.
Well.
I'm just shocked that you guys met up at a bar. That's crazy. Were you drinking?
Where else were you supposed to? I had my one beer.
Dinner. You go to a restaurant. I guess.
I had my one beer.
Crazy.
So what do you guys do on the show?
I don't know. You should listen to it.
We
No, I don't
talked.
listen to anything.
We talked.
Actually,
speaking of last week's show, I gotta say, fuck you, Brandon. And you know why I'm gonna say fuck you, Brandon? Because I find out after we recorded the show that this motherfucker was sitting at home doing nothing while we were fucking recording the damn show.
What? I thought he was going to a convention.
He did go to the convention, but he got home early enough to fucking record. And see, now he told me that he wasn't able to record because he's going to this convention. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe spending the night, he's going to do day 2 at the convention. Never really questioned it, right? And then, so I'm talking to him after, because we recorded and I was on Skype, and he jumped on, and I was like, dude. And then this comes to my attention that he was actually at home. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, I thought you guys were recording earlier in the day. And I'm like, dude, it's Friday. I can't get on until 8 o'clock my time anyways. I'm like, you know this. We've talked about this like a million times. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess so.
Damn
Why
it.
didn't you yell at him for not listening to you, you motherfucker?
So I don't know what he was thinking that we were going to record really early on Friday. I'm like, how is that going to work, dude? And he's like, I didn't really.
Why wasn't he home? Doesn't convention start later on Friday, like the first day? So did he only go for a few hours and then bounce?
So from
Well, it was like
what
11
I gathered,
o'clock here.
What I gathered, he got home like 7 o'clock his time, which is like 4 o'clock my time. Right? So he would have had plenty of fucking time to get on at 8 o'clock when we had started.
I'm just confused.
And he knows
like most
this.
of those conventions start late on the first day.
Yeah.
So like I said, did he just bounce the fuck out of there?
I don't know. I didn't ask for the specifics, but no idea.
That sucks. We missed out having Brandon on that.
I
That's
know.
rough.
And like, I'm like, dude, it's the. I was busting his balls. I'm like, you didn't even want to fucking do it, did you? But
Especially because like we needed the help that night because I was dead.
Well, it would have been interesting to hear what his thoughts were on at least Suicide Club, but you know,
or even Coldfish. We could have had a Hall of Famer there.
yeah. Well, that would have been the nice thing about having the third rating, you know, to see where those things would have stood at the end of the day. But
Well,
I
from
know
what
he
you
did watch
said,
it.
you
I know
guys
he did.
fucking bitched at the audience to give it to me to watch it. So
We didn't bitch.
No,
well,
it's
We
not.
encouraged the audience to give it to you because it's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's better
that's-
than Mikey Fish Green Screen 05.
well,
Dude.
anything is better than Mikey Fish green screen 05.
It's not like we're trying to get you or get the the Patreoners to give you the shittiest movie in the world. You should be thankful for that.
Yeah, you
At
should
least
be
we're
like,
being
wow,
nice. At least
you
we're
guys
being
are
nice.
awesome. You
I
make-
don't get the shittiest movies in the world besides from Mikey Fisher. Everything else is like at least watchable.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah,
the
true.
guys who play with the green grass or other the fucking shit I had to watch.
We had a good show with just us two though. It was a fun time.
Actually, it turned out pretty good. Definitely one of the more shorter shows that we've done in a long time. But I mean,
It was short.
it's because obviously news was really really short. We didn't do dead mail. Like it's crazy when you take out those certain parts of the show how much it really condenses it down. But it is what it is. But I'm still saying fuck you, Brandon.
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, fuck you.
I don't
Brandon.
really know what the hell he
also-
was thinking, but
You missed basically we accepted the terms of war from Exploding Heads as well because as you know they launched a full-blown Patreon assault and I called to our listeners and basically said, guys, do you really want us to lose to Exploding Heads? They already beat us.
Now it's okay.
They already beat us at the top 10s when we used to do that, when Jason used to post those. Can you guys really gonna let them beat us in Patreon? Come on.
Well, when you have things like non-horror picks on your fucking Patreon, it's like, what do you expect to happen? At least we keep it real and only do horror films.
No, we don't though.
Yeah, but we wouldn't
What are
do
you
a whole
talking about?
dedicated show not to horror films. Like we wouldn't
Well,
say
we-
we're gonna
well,
we
we
actually-
have before. I mean, Boy and
Yeah.
His Dog, and pretty much all the ones that you picked in the past.
The blood and ice cream one was kind of non-horror.
Yeah, but not like fucking. They're probably gonna do something like, I don't know, Star Wars or something like that. Like we wouldn't do fucking stupid shit like that.
Yeah, well, considering when we launched the Patreon, we did have an option for a non-horror show. Then, I mean, I think we would have. Nobody bought it though.
I just think that they're fucking way too ambitious, bro.
Well, I'm not saying that we talked about that last week. We thought it was insane what they were doing, but I'm more talking about listeners. We don't want to lose. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
But when all our tiers are fucking sold out, so
I never really took the top 10
There's
as
certain tiers on our thing do not sell out.
I know, but those are the lower money ones, so of course we're not gonna.
That's
win.
okay. Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. And also, with this is your fault. You started this war.
No, I just said that we're the number one Patreon, and we are still the number one Patreon. So
Out of two people.
well, it doesn't matter. We're still beating them. So they're still losers.
Let's see what happens now that they launched this this crazy thing here. We'll see what happens. But we might have bit off more than we could chew, is what I'm saying.
I never really took the top 10 as losing. Yeah, sure, in theory, them or their show being at number 1 and ours being at number 2 was technically a loss. But at the end of the day, they're a bi-weekly show. They got 2 shows in the top 10. We would have 3 or 4 every month. It's a win for me, man. It's the way I look at it. It's the way I look at it.
Bi-weekly, man. They're not going to be able to do that shit.
Well, I don't think we
did kind of stress on that a little bit, yeah.
I don't think theirs is set up monthly like ours, though, right? Like they're not saying like, "Hey, every month we'll deliver all this stuff." It's just like we'll get to it when we get to it.
But isn't that more of a problem? Yeah, isn't that more of a problem though?
Because if keep on adding up,
because at least if we put a limit, like ours is monthly, so what you give us in that month, we will get done in that month most of the time. Sorry, Sam, but the point is that's what we do. But with that theory of them spreading out over time, don't you think that's going to backlog itself to the point where it's like, holy shit, man, we might have to start doing more shows?
I don't know. Maybe they have a plan. Maybe their plan is to, if once they have a certain amount, to cut it off.
Hey, man, I hope everything works out. I'm just, if you do look at the semantics here, it does seem like it could be problematic to the fullest.
All I know is that we'll still be number 1 forever, so.
All right, well, you're talking a big game. Hopefully we can keep backing it up.
Yeah, shit, man.
Our listeners are super.
We're number 1 in our own minds. Who gives a shit, man? We're okay. We're okay. But, no, I mean, it'll probably work out for him. It always does for Dave, doesn't it? Right?
I don't know. We're going to have to see if Brandon goes all Columbine and loses his mind.
I think it's too late for that, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any more Patreon shows, god damn it.
You even mentioned Patreon around him, he fucking curls up into fetal position. It's really bizarre.
He has PTSD with the word Patreon.
He does, man. You mention it and it's like fucking flashbacks of all this arguing and oh yeah, fuck. Yeah. But I don't know. Let's move it along.
Sure.
Do we have any news this week?
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
It's been a
Jeremy, you had stuff
very slow week.
Okay. I mean, you knew about it too, and it's your segment, so
Yeah,
I didn't click on it.
They haven't casted the person to play Chucky in the new Child's Play film yet. So all the test screenings they've done has been just like one of the effects persons have done the voice, and they haven't even fucking casted who Chucky is going to be. And the film comes out in 3 months. Now, I'm not saying that they should have the fucking all the line dialogue recorded already. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's fucked up that they haven't even hired somebody to do the damn voice, and the movie's supposed to come out in 3 months.
See, to me, a movie based around, Chucky as being, the driving force behind the movie, don't you think that would be like kind of the first thing you'd want to cast to ensure that you have that going for you?
Key aspect.
Yeah, we'll have that going for you, and then work about the rest of the casting and work out the other semantics of the film. Like, to me that just seems like poor. I don't know, man. I just that seems really fucking bizarre to me. Is there anything about having somebody before? Did they have anybody in mind and it just didn't work out or something? Because I don't know how you go through.
They just say they want to hire an A-list celebrity for the voice.
But why is this coming out now? This has been in production for so long, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we need an A-lister?
I think maybe just because people have seen the test screenings now and they know that there isn't a voice.
The only thing that I could think is maybe they don't plan on using because based on what I've seen of it, it looks more reserved than the other Chucky films. Like Chucky isn't the center of attention. It seems like it's more of maybe they're not going to have that much actual dialogue, so they didn't.
Well, that was my first thought too. Maybe they're not going to give Chucky that much dialogue. They're going to keep it a little bit more serious and not have a bunch of one-liners and shit.
Yeah, maybe it's just still, a couple lines that they needed to punch in still.
But still, man, where's your who's doing the casting here, man? You got to get on some shit, man. Your movie's coming out in 3 months and you haven't even cast anybody, let alone, started the process of, the voice acting and shit. that just seems bizarre to me. Money on it that this movie gets delayed.
No,
No,
You
I don't think so. No way.
I don't think so.
It's too far along.
Yeah, it's like looks nearly finished. Apparently, I thought it would have been, but apparently not.
So they're gonna bring someone in, rush all these lines out, and then fucking just put the movie out.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what if there's only like 15 lines of dialogue in the whole thing from him? You know what I mean?
I mean, but 15. There's got to be more than that. There has to.
I mean,
There's-
there might be,
there's
but
gotta
think about the first one though. Like, was there really a? I mean, yeah, there was.
Yeah, there was a lot.
No, there's a lot of fucking dialogue, especially in the last scenes.
Like when he goes to the voodoo guy, there's a lot of dialogue there, and
Yeah. Look,
at the end, there's dialogue.
Yeah, in the apartment, there's lots of dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, it adds
Uh,
up. It adds up. You know, you don't think there's a lot of dialogue in a film, and then what did Jeremy say? There was 7 lines of dialogue in what film? And it turns out
Quiet Place.
Quiet
Yeah.
Place, yeah, and there was 60 something lines. But
60-something lines still isn't a lot for a fucking feature, bro.
no, but it's a lot more than 7. That's my point. Right?
yeah.
So
I don't know. I think it's just fucking a bad sign already.
It is a bad sign. I just find that so bizarre. Really,
I
really
have
crazy
more
bizarre.
faith in this than anything Mancini's doing next.
I mean, they already have their dude for, they've casted the guy for Candyman. And that hasn't even gone into, full production yet. Well, I guess it's in production right now, but my point is they've cast their lead. They have their guy, they have their star. It's like weird to me, man.
Yeah, but I guess it's kind of different though when it's just voice.
But theoretically, it's the same thing, though. They even said they want an A-list
No, because
actor.
you can't shoot the film without the actor, but you can shoot the film without the voice.
Yeah, of course.
I just think it's weird that they're testing the film without the fucking voice.
Yeah,
There's like a 2-part
exactly.
video on YouTube that's like a half an hour long that talks about leaks that have come from the test screenings and stuff and about the voice and stuff like that. I, of course, don't want to watch it, but I'm curious. It's going against Toy Story, so I think it's going to probably lose pretty badly, but
Maybe.
we shall see. Hopefully it's not PG-13.
Yeah, right. I can't imagine that. I would be so mad.
Anything going
What
up
is-
against Toy Story is not good. It's not a good idea.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's PG-13. I would laugh pretty hard.
Us
Yeah.
Us is getting a lot of good reviews so far.
Yeah. Well, it just debuted Saturday, so.
Yeah, it South by Southwest, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people are saying that, Jordan Peele is fucking legit after this one, and it wasn't just, flash in the pan luck with lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, they're like
With
comparing
Get
him
Out.
to fucking Hitchcock.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Kinda
only 2
crazy.
films.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's see what he does, over a little bit of a time span here.
Yeah, he's only made 2 films.
Well, I mean, I understand that. Listen, anytime people are looking for headlines, like they're gonna write fucking shit. But I mean, it's pretty cool to see him getting compared to like. Obviously, it should not have any merit when you've only made 2 films versus like fucking 40 or something. You know what I mean? But I think that the potential with the talent is pretty interesting to me. So hopefully,
I guess we'll see, folks, next week. Well, 2 weeks.
yeah. From when they hear this, it'll be
2 a week.
yeah. Since we don't have any news, I figured I would throw this out there and get Moods' thoughts on this. So Bloody Disgusting did a ranking of all of Lucio Fulci's horror films.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw out each one and see what you thought. All right? Since Fulci is your favorite horror film
Of course.
director.
Of course.
All right. Number 21
Oh,
at the very
jeez.
bottom. Door to Silence, 1991.
That's an appropriate spot for it. I mean, Door to Silence was his last film. It was very low budget. I like the movie. It's not very Fulci-esque. It doesn't have the typical Fulci gore. It's got a nightmare atmosphere to it, but it's kind of predictable in where it's going and stuff. But
You think it's his worst film?
No, it's not his worst film. No.
Okay. Number 20, Sodom's Ghost from 88.
I would probably say that's worse.
Yeah.
Sodom's Ghost is oh lordy. It's hard to judge, like, again, coming back to the whole transfer thing, because I have a really, really budget it has really no good releases at all. It's got a real budget DVD release, and the transfer sucks. It's really shitty, but it's kind of got this throwback Nazi thing going on to it and shit, and it's got some interesting ideas, but I've only ever seen it once, so it's hard to really judge, but I just remember it being pretty shitty. So
Okay. Number 19, The Sweet House of Horrors from 89.
Oh, TV film that Fulci did. It's not good. It's it's in a very appropriate spot, yeah.
Number 18, The House of Clocks from 89.
House of wow, I'm really shocked to see that one so low or high on the list. I don't high, low, whatever you want to say. I like that movie, man. That's a good one. Actually, a lot of people really enjoy that one.
All right, number 17, Dominia from 1990.
Demonia.
Yeah.
Again, a good idea, not Fulci's best work. It's that weird transitional period, after he got sick when he was doing Zombie 3, and he kind of came off, and his films really kind of lack that Fulci-esque style to them. That one's okay, though. It's definitely not one of his worst.
Number 16, Enigma, 1988.
Oh, fuck. I've reviewed this movie a couple times in the past, and it's Fulci-like. It's got that Fulci atmosphere. It's got that gore, but it's got some of the most nonsensical scenes ever in it. It's ridiculous. Storyline's very paper thin, but it's one of my least favorite for sure, actually.
Number 15, break it into the top 15. Voices from Beyond, 1991.
Horrible. Honestly, that is one. I think that one right there should be right at the bottom.
Wow.
It's a bad movie, man. Really, really bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 14, 1988's Zombie 3.
Well, I think everyone knows my feelings about this. I love Zombie 3. I mean, we talked about it many, many times, and the thing about Zombie 3 is that Bruno Mattei says that Fulci did about 70% of the film, and he had to film because Fulci got sick at the time. You can tell the stuff that Bruno Mattei incorporated into the film, but overall it's good, man. It's got a nice score to it. It's Fulci-esque, and I think that's just way too, it could be higher for sure.
Number 13, 1990's A Cat in the Brain.
Cat in the Brain at number 13. Yeah, I mean, that's about where, it's not one of Fulci's best. We've talked about it, It's got a decent idea. I like the idea of the film, but it's not his best work, for sure.
Yeah.
Not
Number
his worst.
12, Touch of Death from 88.
Touch of Death is fun. Again, it's a very odd Fulci film. It has its moments. It's got some decent gore and shit in there. Touch of Death, I think, was actually sampled in Cat in the Brain and stuff, along with some other films that he produced and things, but it's okay. It's about where it should be. It's a good film.
All right, number 11, Murder Rock, Dancing Death from 84.
Now, Murder Rock is a trippy film, man, because it's almost bloodless for somebody that's known for their gore, and it's like Fulci's version of Flashdance in a sense. It's very 80s aerobic dance kind of. I like Murder Rock. I think it actually kind of kicks ass for what it is. I just wish he had gone the gore route. I think the producers at the time when he was making that film wanted him to not make that gory film, so he just didn't do it, which I think that hurts the film, because this is like a perfect film to have gore scenes, but it's a fun film. I like it.
Number 10, Manhattan Baby from 82.
Dude, Manhattan Baby, man. Rewatching it again for the 82 show was probably I liked it the most. I liked it, I've seen it a bunch of times. It was probably the most I liked it in a long time. It has a lot of good ideas, but man, I think it should be definitely lower on the list. It should be. It's not. No, not really.
Number 9,
not in the top.
Another
10.
1982 film, The New York Ripper.
Well, New York Ripper is like obviously one of my favorite movies. It was my number one from '82. So, but this is where it gets tough, man, because you get in the top 9, and this is where it's really, even for the hardcore Fulci lover, it's hard to rank these films. So
number 8, 1981's The Black Cat.
Wow, that's interesting. They have The Black Cat so high. I mean, it's a story that's been done a million times. It's obviously a Poe story. Fulci's vision of it is interesting, but no way it should be in the top 10, in my opinion. No.
Number 7, Don't Torture a Duckling from 1972.
Excellent film. One of the most overlooked giallos, I think. I don't know why Fulci doesn't get credit for this film. I mean, Arrow obviously gave it the credit that it deserves by giving it a nice addition and stuff, but it's an excellent film. Deals with some really taboo subject matter, even for the times. It doesn't matter where you were putting this film out, whether it's Italy or North America, the subject matter is disturbing, and and it's one of those films you probably couldn't get away with making today. It's an excellent film.
Number 6, Lizard in the Woman's Skin, 1971.
A very, very visual and versatile, vivid, beautiful fucking giallo. Another one that doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's gotten some decent releases recently. Mondo Macabro put it out and gave it its justice, but it's a great film. It deserves to be where it is.
Breaking into the top 5. Number 5, 1977, The Psychic.
Yes, excellent film. And I'm glad they're giving it its props too, man. It's another great Fulci film. And actually, a lot of people that worked on that film think it's Fulci's absolute best film. Yeah.
Number 4, 1979, Zombie.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be in the top 5 somewhere, right? I mean, it has bad worm placement, but what else can you? Yeah.
Here's the big surpriser. Number 3, The House by the Cemetery, 1981.
I was wondering when this was going to come up because, I think it's a great movie. I mean, it obviously is plagued by the dubbing of Bob, and that's kind of the one thing that everyone kind of, especially people that aren't too familiar with Italian films, like, man, that movie's fucking terrible. I'm like, what? The dubbing on Bob's voice? Yeah, man. I'm like, what about the movie itself? It kind of overtakes what people are seeing in the film. I don't know if I put House by the Cemetery that high. I don't think it's a better movie than The Psychic and Don't Torture a Duckling and things like that. But it's one of my favorites, though.
Number 2, my favorite Fulci film, City of Living Dead, 1980.
Yeah, it's where it should be, man. Definitely somewhere in that top 1 to 5. Yeah, I love City of Living Dead. It's music. Oh, the gore is just everything. It's such a cool film.
And finally, no surprise here, 1981's The Beyond at number 1.
Wow. Yeah, my favorite Fulci film. I mean, it's my second favorite movie of all time. It's can you say, man, it's The Beyond? I think it deserves its number 1 spot for show.
All right, well, that was fun.
21 films. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we've only done 6 of them, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Yep, only 6. He
did a lot of really good horror films, really. I mean, even when you get into the, the bottom end of them, they're still decent. He's only really done a couple really shitty ones, like really, really shitty, like to the point where you're like, oh, for sakes, man, Jesus. But, I mean, for doing 21 horror films and having that type of output of decent films is, got to give credit where credit's due, right?
Yep.
So that was cool, man. I didn't even know they put that out. Fuck.
Yeah, I read it. It was pretty cool.
Well, at least that would have been embarrassing if I hadn't seen one of them.
Yeah, no, you killed it. I was wondering if you had.
Well, I own every.
Sense that he's seen all of them.
I own every one of them, and even some of his non-horror stuff, like The Exorcist. I don't know. He's done a couple of films that are like really. They're almost like dark comedies and shit. Just like every Italian director, kind of dipped into lots of different subgenres and shit. But he started out as, doing comedies. That's what he did through the 60s and shit. He did lots of comedies and weird shit, and then got into making giallos because that's what was popular at the time, right? So it's kind of interesting. But a lot of those early films by Fulci don't have releases. So I haven't seen very many of those, unfortunately. But it's weird when you watch a movie that wasn't a genre film, like just a comedy or whatever. It's like, you watch and you go, what the fuck, man? Like, it's so weird to see Fulci doing shit like that, but it happened. So, yeah.
Too bad I have nothing to contribute to that conversation.
All right, well, that was some Fulci talk right there. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I guess moving along out of... Well, actually, no. Before we move along, we going to do the Pet Cemetery drawing?
Yeah, so we have last month we gave away a copy of Suspiria on Blu-ray. Our homie Mr. Muscles,
The Muscle Man. The legend
the
himself.
Muscle Man, won it. And we said that we would give away a 4K, which also has the Blu-ray, I believe, copy of Pet Cemetery, which is about to be released, I think.
The end of March.
Yeah, so right at the end of the March you'll get it, but we'll do the drawing for it now. And also we're going to announce what we're giving away for the March drawing, which technically this one's the February drawing.
Yep.
And then in April we'll do the March drawing.
Yep.
It's always a month behind. So everybody who joined the Patreon in February, we have Chad Cooper, Taylor Hydier, Ratchet Command, Mark Letham, Johnny Pendergrast, Rob Hankins, Tone Joker, Michael Fisher, Mike
Please
Fish,
don't be Michael Fish.
Jelly Bane, Aaron Corville, Ethan Mitchell, Fan of Eli, James Cox, Geno Cyber, Mr. Muscles, Dave, aka Mr. Parka, Tyler Taddeo, Tony Hartman, Derek Bourgeois, 85, Christopher DeZubia, Tony Herrero, Lawrence Miller IV, Dustin Baker, Carly, our stalker from Norway, Peter, Andy Zavala,
Hi guys, it's me, Peter.
Lucius Blackwood, TJ Franks, Matt Jankowski, Marco, Jonathan Wilhelm, Lert 6, Danny, Michael Vault, Blaine Bartlett, Amanda Wingelnick, who gets 2 entries this time, Dub Doubles, Michael Kemp, Kuno Mo Jensen, Emily Dara, Joey Plesh, Benjamin, Luis Antonio, Tyler Jones, Connor Curran, Action Jackman, Matt Wells, Paul Garcia, Exploding Heads, and Kill the Cast. Wow.
Okay, so these are all the contributors?
Yeah.
I thought we were naming off everybody in the Facebook group.
Right.
Well, that's 50 people, bro.
Damn, dude, we have. I don't pay attention to the Patreon at all. I probably should more. I really don't, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy
50
shit.
peeps.
Damn, dude, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Thank you.
truly amazing. It makes me feel so special.
That is
Not even being sarcastic. Like,
Oh, too bad Exploding Headstones didn't have that many people supporting them.
oh God.
Oh, this guy's stirring the fucking huge
I know.
cauldron, man.
You said you started a war.
He's got a fucking
No, you
paddle in
started
there.
a war.
He's got a fucking paddle in this motherfucker, man.
Oh my God. All right, so randomize away. Maybe next month I'll do it on a live stream again. I really wasn't feeling up to it though. So the winner is, oh my God,
Oh,
you're not
don't
going to
say
believe it.
Don't say Mikey Fisher.
No, it
Okay.
is Amanda Willenlink.
What? She won 2 months in a row?
I know, dude. I swear to God, I'm not rigging this at all, bro.
Oh my God.
The first thing someone's gonna say is you need to get a new randomizer.
Dude, it's downloaded on my phone. She did have 2 entries, but still, that's still like only like a 2 in 50 shot. But wow. Hey, listen, she won last month and decided to pass since she owned the release already, and our homie
Crazy.
Muscle Man got it. So I mean, it seems like I would plan it this way to where she would win just to be nice, but I swear to God, This was 100% random, unless the randomizer is some bullshit. But yeah, just for the purpose of, in case she has the release or whatever, Amanda, Ratchet, Command, and then Aaron Carvel was 1, 2, and 3. So I doubt she has it pre-ordered or anything. She could just cancel it if she does. But yeah, so you are the winner of the 4K Pet Cemetery release. I swear I didn't rig that, guys.
I think people are going to start questioning this randomizer thing because of all the top 10 years.
I know. Maybe I do need to get
the
a new
02s and 82s and fucking weird, man. 76, 86, 96. It's weird. That is trippy. But congratulations on winning that. I want that. I want that too.
Really? You want a 4K?
Oh.
Look who's getting into the 4K game.
I don't want no fucking 4Ks, man. I was fucking just being nice.
It's such a good cover, though.
You really want it. You just don't want to admit it.
No.
Okay.
All right. So, what do you guys want to give away next month? So far, I'm looking at Wacko, or the children from Vinegar Syndrome, or maybe Next to Kin from Severin.
Mexican.
Yeah.
You guys want to do Next to Kin?
Mexican? Yeah, I'll do Mexican.
All right. So anybody who joins the Patreon in the month of March will be entered to win Next of Kin next month. Also, I have a handful of digital copies to give away on the Patreon. Any digital copy that I get goes to the Patreon. So
hold up. I thought we stole this idea from Exploding Heads. We're still allowed to do this? We're still allowed?
Yeah.
Said yes? Okay.
Uh-oh.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, but so yeah, keep on a lookout for those digital copies. I will be posting them.
Yeah, buddy.
I could probably put a lot of digital codes on there, but the problem is that they'd be for Canadian people.
That's okay. I've posted Canadian ones.
Oh, have you? Okay, well,
Just,
I'll take
just
a look.
one, yeah, because the Blair Witch Blu-ray that I got was a Canadian release for whatever reason.
Oh.
So
I wonder if those work on US.
No, they don't.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, well.
It's crazy
There's
that
got to be some Canadians out there.
digital codes are region locked.
I mean, it makes sense.
But 4K isn't, apparently.
Yeah, 4K isn't.
So random. Doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of 4K, you see Dog Soldiers is coming out in 4K?
Oh.
Germany.
Wait a minute. Dog Soldiers looks like trash on Blu-ray.
I know, well, it's coming out in 4K in Germany.
Dude, I'm so tired of the German fucking releases being posted. I do not give a fuck.
I do.
I just thought
Germans
it was funny.
They do good releases, man.
I just thought it's
They're
funny.
really
Dog
cool
Soldiers.
Yeah,
Dog Soldiers.
It's not. I'm definitely not even thinking twice about grabbing that.
Yeah.
Don't really care. So, but yeah. So that's the end of that.
Fucking thing sucks!
Let's move this along into some Bob Box Office Brawl.
Let's get ready to rumble!
For this week, what do we got going on?
Well, we're going to recap the one that we didn't recap last week.
Oh, yeah.
Since Jeremy wasn't here.
Fucking bullshit.
So, Greta, Jeremy says 4.5 million, and I said 5.75 million, and Mood said 5.5 million, and it came in at $4,481,910. So Jeremy was like literally like $19,000, less than
Office Brawl
$19,000.
Champ 2019. Box Office Brawl Champ 2019.
It's only March, buddy. It's only
You got like
March.
10 months left, man. This shit can.
What a bunch of
It'll
losers.
swing its way. It'll swing its
Losers.
So that
was like
puts
$1 million
the
off.
score. It's 3-2 for me and Moods. He picks up a point on me. 3. Jeremy has 3. I have 2 in me versus him, and then Jeremy has 3 and Moods has 2 in. So Moods is losing both of them. I'm losing 1 and winning 1, and Jeremy's winning both of them.
Yeah. Point's a point, though. I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right.
So this next week we have Us. March 22nd.
Us. Now coming out on IMAX.
Jordan Peele's Us.
Yep. So I have to go first since I won.
Yep.
52.5 million.
Jeez. 52.5?
Yeah.
Where the hell did you come up with that number?
I just picked it out of my head.
Moods?
52 now. Wow. How many? I don't know. That seems really high. But
It's Jordan Peele, bro. That shit's hot.
I know. But how many cinemas is it playing in?
It's too late, too far out that it says.
It doesn't say yet.
It doesn't say
I
it.
wonder if it's getting like the 3,000 plus.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised considering type of buzz and.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean you got to take that into consideration. Wow, 52, man. Maybe I got a feeling this is gonna do pretty good. I'm gonna go with 55.5.
Higher than me.
Yes. Thought about it for a second. I think it's gonna do really well. Like really fucking well. Plus, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. 3,500 cinemas, man. It's got that extra fucking powwow for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's gonna get the royal treatment, man.
Dude, that's insane. I don't know, man. Like y'all got me all fucked up now.
Why? Say what's your number, bro?
You got to think though, man. I mean, he's coming off of Get Out. So much buzz about that movie. Himself. This movie's getting buzz.
But does the mainstream know about that?
Yes.
Well, they should know.
Do they know like Jordan Peele? Do they know?
Yes, dude. They know Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? That's
Because it's like a clear as shit answer, dude. He won a fucking Oscar.
Yeah, but does the mainstream watch the Oscars?
Yes, dude. Hundreds of millions of people watch the Oscars.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah, hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of people.
Hundreds of millions, yeah.
I can't argue with him because I just don't know. I have no idea. I would assume a lot of people probably watch Academy Awards. And Get Out, I talked to so many people.
What did you say, 55.5?
55.5, yeah. 5.55.
Oh, man. What did it make opening weekend?
Over 100.
Oh, yeah, that was... okay. So Get Out made $33.3 million.
I wonder how much
This
it
is
actually made,
probably
though,
going to
in
do
profit.
better. Dude, I have no fucking idea, man.
What about it?
I'm going to go 52.4.
Such bullshit.
I just can't see it doing over 55. I could be wrong. So
All right,
I'm just
but
going
that's
for the under.
I'm just saying what I read off Fandango pre-sales already, bro.
So you're fucking cheating.
I'm not cheating.
Are
I'm
you
doing
looking at-
research.
Oh, dude.
His
You're
research is
fucking-
code name for cheating.
He's like,
How am I
I
cheating?
was like, where'd you come up with that number?
Just
I
because
just
you
pulled
look-
it out of my head.
Just because you look at pre-sale numbers doesn't mean that during the fucking release that's going to hold the same.
I know, but I'm just saying, bro, that's like some bullshit.
Hey, you could do it too.
I don't want to do it. I'm trying to base it off of my knowledge.
Well, we'll see who's going to win.
All right. Well, I've been going
Yeah.
higher every time, so I guess I'm going to go low this time and see what happens.
I think Moose is going to win, to be honest.
Yeah?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Well,
I
you're really in a shitty spot.
I know.
You are.
But that's what happens when you go first.
Sometimes, but last time you went first and I went above both of you guys, so.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's going to do well.
I think so
Even
too.
say I wouldn't be surprised.
I just didn't really see any buzz for it besides in the horror community. Like I
it's
don't
60s. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I felt like when Get Out was coming out, it had like massive buzz. I'm just not feeling it for us. Even though I think it looks cooler than Get Out did when I saw the trailer at Get Out. I'll still never forget how when Jeremy said that the Get Out trailer looked like, he's like, that movie looks so retarded.
I thought it did look retarded.
Yeah, that's
I'll be the first to say
that's
it.
because he saw a black guy as the lead, and he was like, "Oh,
my god,
another one of these fucking movies." Jesus.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, you should have watched Traffic last year. That movie was fucking horrible, and that had a black lead in it. So,
Okay.
Moods like Traffic. I don't understand why.
Yeah,
That
I didn't
movie
mind.
sucked.
I didn't mind it. It was okay. Yeah, it is what it is.
I thought it was crap.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see how Us turns out.
Guess only time will tell, my friends.
It will only tell, but yeah, Jeremy's in a rough spot for this one.
42 shots.
Okay, well, let's move it along. Jeremy, you got some dead mail for us this week?
You've got mail.
Yeah, buddy. All right, so let's do some dead mail. This time we're talking about a letter sent from issue number 9, the famous issue number 9. This is when Fangoria dropped the Starlog Presents. Starlog was a magazine that the production company of Fangoria ran before they made Fangoria. It's a sci-fi magazine, so this is the first issue where it was just Fangoria by itself. And I'm bringing this one because in issue number 7, there was a whole spread about Maniac and the effects done by Tom Savini. And this issue has a few comments about those articles and some bashing against Fangoria for running some of those images that were in that magazine because it was still a sci-fi magazine at that time. But on this cover, we have good old Farmer Vincent, Motel Hell with the pig mask.
Jason's favorite movie.
And then we have a special preview of The Howling. So The Howling hasn't even came out at this point.
Wow.
And a look at Terror Train.
Fuck.
And this issue is from November of 1980.
Do they have a little piece of David Copperfield in there in Terror Train?
No. All right. So the first letter comes from Mark Willingham, and he writes, Fangoria, your last issue was fantastic, especially the article about Maniac, though it wouldn't hurt if you cut down the gory pics a little bit. I was very disappointed when I couldn't find your section on fantastic art. I hope that you don't plan to exclude it from future issues. I thought these features were marvelous. So this guy was reading a horror magazine, and he didn't like the fucking bloody pictures in it. Like, what the hell?
It's pure laughable. Yeah. Pure laughable.
It's even more dumb that he's like, I loved your article on Maniac. Wish you would have cut down the gory pictures. So do you want to see Maniac or not?
So he just wanted to read about the gore instead of actually seeing it? Well, what do you think is going to happen when you see the fucking movie, buddy?
Yeah.
Dumbass.
What a fucking idiot. Come on.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who are pissed off at Fangoria in this dead mail. So next up, we have a letter from a John Landis from Universal City, California.
John Landis? Oh.
And he writes, Dear Bob, thank you for your interest in my odd career. An American Werewolf in London begins shooting this February in England, and I am pleased to tell you that Rick Baker has been working for the past 2 months preparing the rather extraordinary makeup and special effects we will be using in the film. As for Creature for the Black Lagoon, we have a screenplay by Evan Kim that I am happy with, but until Universal Studios decides that fishmen make money, I'm afraid the project is in limbo. Keep up the good work at Fangoria. I do have one small complaint, however. Gore, for its own sake, quickly grows tiresome. Please try to refrain from repeatedly printing the most gruesome stills you could get your hands on. Fangoria, famous monsters, Cinefatique, Starlog, etc. all serve the wonderful purpose of reassuring me that I am not the only crazy one. So even Mr. John Landis is pissed off at Fangoria.
Dude, going back to this fucking this Fishman shit, I didn't know he had a fucking script going for that.
Creature from the Black Lagoon
Yeah.
sequel.
So him,
It was a sequel or was it a remake?
fucking Guillermo del Toro. Like, how many people have had their hand on?
Yeah, I know. That's what I
Gilman remake.
Yeah, I know that there's been lots of. I didn't know about the Landis though. That's crazy.
Me neither.
That's an interesting little tidbit of knowledge, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy. He had to write in and complain about the gory images.
Yeah, right before he shoots American Werewolf in London, which is super gory.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's called Fangoria.
Yep. Hell, you're not supposed to have bloody pictures in it, bro. It's a horror magazine. Well, Don Hicks from Carson City, Nevada, he's pissed off too. He writes, okay, you went way overboard in issue number 7. I mean, the Friday the 13th scenes in number 6 were okay, but those Maniac scenes were totally repulsive. What makes you think there are any normal person wants to see that scalping effect? In the movie, fine. If anybody wants to shell out money for that garbage, they could see it. Keep showing such totally sick scenes, and I'll stop buying Fangoria. I'm sure many people will agree. Well, I've said my piece. Hopefully you'll take this into consideration when Zombie or some other such garbage comes out.
What?
Dude, the year 1980 was filled with pussies.
I don't understand. So this PC generation started back then?
Apparently.
This makes no sense. You are buying a horror magazine.
Yeah.
Like JP, stated, it's called Fangoria. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's supposed to pique your interest in what you're going to end up watching these movies. So these guys are complaining about the gore being in these magazines, but they don't give a shit about it, that it's in the movies. The fuck is the difference?
It makes no fucking
What is
sense
the difference
at all.
here? You're buying the magazine to read about these movies that you're going to eventually watch, but you're getting repulsed and upset to the point that you have to write a fucking letter to a magazine called Fangoria about the gore that they presented to you. This makes fucking no sense to me. Why would you even take the time out of your shitty ass PC life to fucking do that? I do not understand this for a sec. It's like they've obviously watched horror movies before, read about gore. I mean, this is why you're here, man. This is why you're buying the magazine, and you're going to complain about it. Holy flying fuck!
So
I
stupid.
can't wrap my head around this, man. This makes no sense. It's fucking phony, man. It's different if Fangoria was, printing pictures of real decapitations and scalpings and shit like that. These are effects. Man, Savini should be proud of himself right now.
Yep, you got all these people pissed off. All right. Ray Byrne from Vista, California writes, Dear Fangoria, it all started on a Saturday morning. I walked up to the lady in the glass ticket booth and I said, 1 for The Shining. She smiled and said, how old are you? I turned away mumbling, 18. I'm 18 years old. Well, she said, do you have any identification? I said, nah, it's in my car. She looked around a bit, then said, well, okay, go on, in. Rue, I thought I sure fooled her. The theater was about half full when I walked in. I took an end seat on the left-hand side. Well, here I am to see The Shining. Rated R. Maybe I should leave. I feel weird. No, it's too late. The lights are dimming. I'm trapped. Well, I'll never forget that Saturday. It was sheer terror. Jack Nicholson's face runs through my mind every time I go to bed or if I am home alone. Why don't you give us innocent moviegoers some kind of warning before we go sneaking in? Wait, he was 18. Well, this motherfucker's better than the one I was talking about the last time when he was trying to sneak into Friday the 13th.
But the
his mom wouldn't
warning,
let him see it.
But the warning is the rated R.
Yeah.
That's the warning, dude. It's rated R for a reason, most likely.
Well, like I said, at least this guy had more balls than that other little kid from a few weeks ago.
But he still had to complain about being scared after watching The Shining. The warning was there already.
Yeah.
You don't fucking... There's reasons why there's ratings on these movies. It wasn't rated G, dude. Get over it. The fuck did you think you're walking into? Ugh, man.
All right.
Unreal.
Last up is one from Mitchell B. Craig, and he also writes about The Shining, and he says, Fangoria folk, Newsweek called Stanley Kubrick's The Shining the first epic horror film. The first epic horror film, my ass. I forked over $3 to see this epic, and it came out...
$3.
I forked over $3 to see this epic and came out feeling like a prize sucker. It was fortunate that I read the novel before I went. Otherwise, I would have felt like a total fool.
Problem.
Yep.
Specifically, The Shining is constructed very much like that DC-10 that crashed in Chicago. It starts out very smoothly, then the engine comes loose, flips over the wing, and comes down the plane. Kaboom. The acting, for want of a better word, is on the same level as the Munsters. Jack Nicholson doesn't...
What the fuck? Seriously? He just compared?
Yep, to the Munsters. I guess Jack Nicholson is like good old fucking Herman Munster.
That doesn't... What the fuck, dude? That doesn't even... That's not comparable at all. That's ridiculous, man.
Jack Nicholson does an excellent Steve Martin routine, and if they ever remake The Bride of Frankenstein, Shelley Duvall is a natural for the part. When Duvall wiggles the baseball bat at his stalking Nicholson, I was yelling, "Damn it, give me the bat." The only professional acting in The Shining comes from Danny Lloyd, who should get a special Oscar for preserving the face of Nicholson's clowning and Duvall's whining. Lloyd's portrayal of a little boy with a power he can't truly understand or control is wonderful. I wish I could say something about Scatman Crothers' role, but he wasn't in the film long enough to make a difference. Oh, there are a good few things in this $20 million debacle. The Steadicam work, Danny Lloyd, Wendy Carlos music, the opening titles, and the rotting corpse sequence. But all this does not justify a film that, for all the money poured into it, turns out to be a dead puppy.
Well, did he just say the best actor in the film was fucking Danny Lloyd? Like,
yeah, my least favorite.
Dude, what the fuck is wrong with this person? He just compared Jack Nicholson's acting to fucking monsters.
You know what I hate about
that's funny.
Certain reviews, like he didn't really point out anything that he didn't like.
Yeah.
Like, what was his biggest problem with the film?
What is this, the Howling review all over again?
Like, all he says is a bunch of shit about the movie.
Yeah.
You know, all he's saying is like, you know, Shelley Duvall whined and fucking... he didn't really say anything.
Yeah, I mean, at least if he had to point out the fact, he's like, oh, well, Jack Nicholson was overacting when he was, you know, trying to kill fucking Wendy. Blah, blah, blah. You know, that scene. You know, I mean, point out specifics at least.
Yeah.
Oh, he's nothing but a bitch.
So that is that.
That is Dead Mail.
Oh, that's Dead Mail?
Yeah. That's the end.
I'm actually quite surprised that he didn't go into comparing the novelization to the movie.
Yeah, since he was so into the novel.
Because he did bring up the Scatman character, and you know, in the book he lives, right? I know that was always a huge complaint that a lot of people had from the novelization to the movie is that he fucking dies, and it's like, well, that doesn't even make sense. But you got to look at Kubrick's visions a little bit differently, though. Mm-hmm. Plays a different role in the book, so. But yeah, cool. Well, that's the end of Bob
and Dead Mail. We already finished Box Office Brawl, you dumbass.
Oh yeah, that was Dead Mail. Fuck no, I was looking at my shit here, reading box. Fuck me.
Who's the dumbass now?
Me.
Yep.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Have you checked the children?
What do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
All right, yeah, moving along here. We're going to get into some dub. It's what we watched. Who wants to start us off this week? Jeremy, why don't you start us off, since you weren't here last week?
All right. I'll start off with a Patreon pick from, I think this comes from that guy who gave you Jellybane 801. From the year 2005, we have Doom, starring the man who saved Hollywood himself, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Hollywood's biggest star. So this was early on in Mr. Dwayne Johnson's movie career. Still pretty much a wrestler full-time at this point, but he decided to go make movies like The Scorpion King, and now he made Doom and The Runaway, which is actually a pretty good movie. Not The Runaway. Is that the name of it, with the movie with Stifler? The Rundown. The Rundown. That's the name of it.
The Rundown.
That movie's actually pretty good. But anyway, Doom. So this was, video game adaptations were a bit hot at this time. Resident Evil was already a well-established franchise at this point with 3 films. And Universal wanted to get their hand in the game. So they decided to adapt Doom into a film. Makes sense. It's a pretty adaptable video game series at this point. Doom 3 came out during the same year, or a year before. I think it came out in 2004. And that was a very well-respected, popular game at the time. So Universal decided this is probably a good time to cash in on the franchise name, and they pumped out Doom. So what do I think about Doom? Doom is a generic fucking narrative. I mean, it's all these fucking movies that we have a group of military army people go to a foreign planet base where it's being run around with monsters, and they have to pretty much save the base and battle all these infective monsters who are running over this base. Super generic, seen it in Aliens and Mimic and all these other fucking movies. I mean, it's a very super generic narrative, but that's basically it. We follow Dwayne Johnson plays like the leader of this military group, and they get assigned to go to Mars, to this base where basically all the Doom games take place, particularly the third game. And they get sent to this base, and there's these medical experiments going on, and they learn that an outbreak has broken out on this base, and their job is basically to try and stop it to make sure it doesn't spread to Earth and kill mankind for all humanity. And Carl Urban is the supporting actor in this film. Well, I guess he's the main actor. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the supporting actor. But, it's basically them just going around trying to stop this this outbreak on this base. But the interesting thing is, this movie tries to do a little bit something different at the end of the film, the last 15 minutes of it. And that's what the movie's basically, remembered by, is the fact that they do a first-person perspective in the last 15 minutes or so during the climax, the big climax of the film. And, at this time, we really haven't seen films, do that. Of course, this is years before Hotel Inferno, and it's even more years before Hardcore Henry, which really dabbled in this idea of shooting a film completely in first person. But this movie, at this point, they had the technology to do it. And I mean, it's not revolutionary, but at the time, it's pretty remarkable what they did with the way that they shot the end of the film, made it feel like the video game a little bit more. But, Doom is what it is. It's a hella generic fucking narrative, and it's just trying to cash in on the title. That it's not going to be some ball-blasting, amazing kind of film, and it definitely isn't. And the narrative is what it is, and it has some pretty okay lighting, but it has a lot of shitty CG. Some of the people in the monsters suits are actually people in suits and things like that, so I give them credit that they actually have people in suits, but all the effects, blood-wise and everything like that, is completely CG, and it looks really bad at some points. But I saw this movie back in the day in the theaters in 2005. I didn't remember really if I liked it or didn't like it, but as of now, I still think Doom is a pretty average fucking movie, so I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's not like unwatchable, horrible, anything like that. But I think 2 years later, when Universal did Silent Hill, I think that movie's a hell of a lot better, even though JP didn't like it the last time we watched it. But I still think it's a better movie. Doom,
I think it might be better. I just don't think that either of them are particularly good. Yeah. I actually think Resident Evil is better than both of them.
I like Resident Evil 2 the best, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
actually,
I think that's the best in the franchise. But Doom,
first 3.
Doom is what it is. It's a video game adaptation. You know what you're gonna get.
Seen it once when it came out, didn't like it, never revisited it.
Yeah,
I've seen it twice.
Yeah, I was not really feeling that one. So, all right. Well,
they're making a sequel, bro. It's coming out straight to DVD.
Fuck, all these years later.
I know.
14 years later, that's ridiculous.
I know.
All right, so I'll go next. First up here is a Patreon pick from Rob Hankins.
Mr. Hankins,
who's generally pretty nice to us. This particular film is coming from 2015. It's called Baskin. It is a Turkish film.
It's the first episode of Netflix and Chill.
Was it really?
Yep, we did Baskin.
Nice. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Just don't really have a lot of movies or horror films that come out of Turkey. It's kind of an interesting country to be releasing films. Directed by Ken Enrenal. He actually directed a really good film last year called Housewife, which I was pretty stoked for because, his first...
I didn't like it.
Really?
No.
Housewife's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really liked Housewife.
Yeah, it's, different than this one, but, it's still very stylistic and stuff. But basically, what we have in Baskin here is we have a group of police officers. The film starts out with this group of police officers that is, they're kind of in this like seedy restaurant type bar thing, and they're all sitting around, I guess not really doing their jobs, but they're telling, kind of nasty ass stories and shit like that. And one thing leads to another. Anyways, they end up leaving that place and they jump in their van. They're driving. It's fucking so weird in this van too. Like, is it a fucking karaoke setup that they have in this thing? Do you remember that, JP?
I don't really remember the movie.
But even the first time I watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck, man? They have like this kind of disco music. They got like this karaoke type thing all set up in there. They're all singing and shit to this music. It's really fucking strange. But anyways, they're in their van and they get a call over the radio. And so they decide, well, they got to go investigate this call because it's kind of muffled. They don't really know what the hell is actually going on. And as they're going there, they fucking crank something, go off the road, crash into this water, and eventually get out of that shit. They make their way into this house where they notice that there's another police officer there and stuff. And basically all hell breaks loose from right there. My thoughts on the movie... you can tell right away that this film is very much influenced by a lot of different American films. For sure, man. There's so many types of films that you can see the influence directly put into this movie. I mean, right from Goodfellas. There's a scene in the opening of this movie that involves this guy that's telling this nasty ass story about hooking up with a transvestite, and he realizes that the girl has a penis and he doesn't give a fuck and he still goes all the way with her and shit. Anyways, this kind of busboy or waiter comes by and he starts laughing about it. And it's that scene straight out of Goodfellas with Joe Pesci where, we all know the scene, what happens in that scene, but it doesn't go that far in this one. But it's identical, that scene. This guy gets all pissed off at this busboy and, they have words and shit. And then...
At least he doesn't shoot him in the foot.
Yeah. But like this whole scene, I'm like, wow, it's like straight Goodfellas. But... yeah, you can see a lot. And, I even read that the director was very much influenced by, certain types of films and things like that. He was influenced by, what's his face? Refn's, Only God Forgives film for, kind of the aesthetic and the actual look of the film.
It's got similar lighting.
Yeah. Like, the very kind of, hypnotic type lighting and shit like that, which I thought was actually kind of cool. And he took, influence from like Frontiers and things like that. And I was like, okay. But yeah, stylistic, the film is fantastic. It's got great lighting. The cinematography is fantastic. It has this dreamlike nightmare quality to it that never lets up. From the opening scene in the film right to the end, it's very interesting. So what we have is basically there's a rookie cop that's part of the squad, and he's having this reoccurring nightmare and stuff like that. And it kind of plays into the whole film. It kind of like that storyline, it comes wrapping around and stuff. At first, when I first watched the movie, I wasn't like 100%, like I really enjoyed it, but I was like, I thought, once they get into this house and they get involved into, basically they end up walking into hell. And there's kind of like this Hellraiser type character, which I think is one of the most unique looking people of all time. Like this dude,
a little bald-headed little person.
Yeah, he just, as soon as you see him, you just instantly think of Pinhead for some odd reason, without the pins or the makeup. This is like his actual real look. There's no makeup on this guy, which I thought was just amazing. Like they found this guy for this role. It's just so perfect. But he kind of plays the Hellraiser type role. He's there to do shit to these these officers, and it kind of turns into a little bit of a torture porn. And there's some real nasty scenes and things that are going on and stuff, but I like the outcome of the film. You know, it's I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't seen it, but you know, I do recommend the movie. It's pretty interesting watch. It runs close to about 100 minutes. I think it's a little bit long, but I think for what it's doing, you know, it's fine. It doesn't overstay its welcome and stuff. There's a lot of interesting metaphors and things. I know the frogs have a major significance into the film's, you know, subtext and stuff like that. I'm not really much for, you know, dream analysis and things like that, but it's obvious that those things have something in there. I can't remember what frogs mean in dreams. Do you guys know?
No.
But it is very significant, especially in their mythology too, in Turkey. Mm-hmm. I know it has something very significant, but you can tell there's a lot of things going on in there and stuff. But you know, overall effects are really good. You know, I think the acting is good for what it is, but it's a very visual film, very, very visual. The storyline itself and where it goes, you're like, okay, I've seen this before. I'm not going to reference the film, but I've seen this type of story before. So overall, the thing's not entirely that original, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's still a really, really good film. I'm going to give it about an 8 out of 10. It's a good one. Check it out.
Yeah, I remember not loving that when I seen it. I thought it was cool and stuff, but I don't know. It didn't connect with me the same, I guess. I don't really remember.
Did you like the ending, like where it goes?
I can't really remember what we said about it. That was in like 2015 or something. Or 2016.
I mean, there's all these kind of dead giveaways to why these police officers end up in this hell kind of portal type thing and stuff. But yeah. I wish they had developed it a little bit more. Because once you get the end result of where this film goes, you kind of think back on how it got there. And I don't think it's really fleshed out the greatest, and I think that's kind of where I take off points and stuff. It's like, it leans towards, but at the same time, it's like, why all these individual people? Like, you just kind of, you take away from, like, these cops are shitty, but they don't seem that shitty, though. You know what I'm saying? But...
All right. Well, I don't have a ton. I didn't really watch much this week. I only got one film that I watched this week, but I figured I would venture back to a couple weeks past and pull some stuff that I haven't talked about. So these are a little looser in my memory, but I did watch these fairly recently. So the first one up is 1972's Tombs of the Blind Dead.
I just watched it like a couple nights ago.
Yeah, so this is the first in the Blind Dead series, which features Return of the Blind Dead, The Ghost Galleon, and Night of the Seagulls, which I believe I have seen The Ghost Galleon in the drive-in, actually.
You know what I have to say, man? I'm a big fan of, the 4 films in the whole franchise, but oddly enough, The Ghost Galleon's probably my least favorite, and it's set on a boat.
Yeah.
Go figure.
This is a Spanish/Portuguese film, so from Portugal and Spain. It basically, so it opens up in the 14th century with some weirdo, like, witchcrafty type of stuff going on, and then it skips forward to, I guess, what would be present day. We follow these characters on vacation. A guy and a girl, and then they run into a girl, and apparently they know each other. This is probably one of the weaker parts of the film, is like the character development between these three is like so quick. It's barely existing at all. Essentially, they decide to go visit one of their, like, a mannequin shop or something like that. They're friends that have not seen each other in a while, and they get on this train, and then very weirdly, it seems like one of them gets, like, jealous of the other one, and, like, the way that they're being towards the guy. I guess they had a previous relationship or something, and she's kind of, like, angry about it, so she jumps off of the train, like, in the middle of nowhere. And where this section is like, I guess the townspeople know that it's like a place where you don't go. There's like some abandoned village there, supposedly like haunted or something. And essentially, she decides to camp out in these sort of ruins. And she, puts her sleeping bag down, is listening to a little bit of fucking music on her Walkman and all that shit. And then she kind of falls asleep and gets awoken by what I think are some of the coolest looking fucking ghost zombie fucking skeleton things. I don't even know what to call them, man, but they're really rad. And they're basically just these fucking knights, and they're basically after her. The next day they find her body, and her friends basically decide to go try to figure out what happened to her. I'll say this, like, it's definitely a film that seems a little lower budget, a little bit indie for the time, but I completely enjoyed this. I woke up really early one morning, and I just decided to pop this in, and I kind of just really dug it. It's very atmospheric. It doesn't have a whole lot going on, but it's really spooky and just very visually appealing, especially with the knights. They just look really cool, and it's a pretty simple film, but I think that it does a lot in terms of just visual and like atmospheric enjoyment. I totally dug this flick, and I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, the Templar Knights, man. Yeah, they're some of the coolest designs for sure. Love that.
I mean, it's a pretty simple movie, but it's just like really creepy.
Mm-hmm. And they more or less hunt by sound too, because they have no eyes. Hence the blind dead. Because the Templars, they were basically rounded up or hunted and killed because the Templar Knights were very malicious and brutal people, and their bodies were left out for the crows to pick their eyes out. And so when they awaken, they got no fucking eyes, which really, zombies technically shouldn't have eyes anyways. It's one thing. It's kind of one thing in zombie films that's really bizarre. Like when you watch a zombie film and a body rises from the grave and it's rotten. You see bones and shit, but the eyes are still in the head. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Yeah, well,
it doesn't. I mean, technically, all zombies should be like the Blind Dead. It's weird. I don't know. Jeremy.
All right. Next up, talking about a film that was given to me by Ethan Mitchell from the year 1975. We have Salo with 120 Days of Sodom. Oh, man. So I watched this film once 7 years ago, probably during my early 14-year-old days on YouTube. And yeah, this movie is pretty infamous for being, one of the most fucked up, nasty films ever made. And, it's the first time you watch it, you have to, you see all these things for the first time. But when you watch it a second time, you get a new perspective. While sure, the things are insanely nasty with people eating bowls full of shit with a spoon and a fork, like literally just sitting at a table with bowls full of shit and eating it off a plate. I mean, no matter how many times you watch it, it's still absolutely nasty. And there's rapes and vomit eating and everything else that's horrible and nasty throughout the film. And I know some people just love this movie so much, and they respect what the director was saying about society and how brutal it could be at sometimes. I'll talk about the plot in a minute. And it has a lot more to say than just the disgusting and nasty things that are going on throughout the narrative. I don't really think that it is too much with that. Like, sure, it has some of that stuff in it, but it's still, these kind of films are not for me, even with the subject matter. I mean, Crazy Murder, which is probably the most modern equivalent to this movie, has a bunch of stuff to say about homelessness and PTSD and things like that. And this film has things to say as well about what was going on in society at the time, especially in Italy and France, where this was a co-production of. But I still don't think that makes up for the absolute horrible and nasty shit that goes on throughout this entire film. But we basically follow these four wealthy people who are living in Italy during the start of World War II. And basically they kidnap a group of teenagers every year, and they subject themselves to 120 days of brutal torture and sexual assaults and rapes and mental
sodomy.
Yeah, sure. Mental distress and everything about it. Their main goal is to just torture these teenagers every 120 days, and we get to know this main character, this main leader of these four people, which is like a Duke kind of character, and he's a warm guy, and we kind of similar to a film that we're going to talk about later on, The Cremator. He has a very similar presence to him. He's a very warm guy that the audience could connect with him at some points in the film. But he's just such a fucking brutal, horrible, disgusting guy. But I think that's what the director's trying to say, that because at certain times that we connect with him, we feel so dirty that we feel this way towards this guy who's clearly horrible. But it's just the terror that some people are really like this, but on the deep side, they may seem all nice and warm and nice, but deep down inside, they're just absolutely horrible, fucking gross people. And it just those kind of things about people, and you don't know who you know until you really know them, kind of thing that the director is trying to say. But I just don't like the nasty shit of that goes on in this film. I'm not a huge hardcore kind of film watcher. I really don't like those kind of films. They're not really for me. Moots talked about Slaughter Vomit Dolls a few weeks ago, and I would feel like I would probably have a very similar response to that film that I do with this movie. But this movie is so famous because it really was one of the first kind of films to do that, and at least have some kind of artistic point behind it. And I really do think that's why Criterion released it, and it has the following that it does. But I just don't want to watch people eating bowls full of shit with a fork and being raped and mentally abused and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a very hard, brutal film to watch, but it still has at least some kind of artistic tendencies to it. So I got to give it that. So I give Salo 120 Days of Sodom a 6 out of 10. Not because it's a bad made film or anything like that. It's just a personal preference that even a second time around, it's still a fucking hard film to watch, and not for those who don't have gonads to watch this kind of stuff. And the fact that it came out in 1975, I mean, it'd be even hardcore in today's landscape to make a film like this. So if you like those things, you've probably already seen this movie and you've probably watched it a billion times, but not for me.
Did you mention the director got killed right after this movie?
No, I didn't mention that, but
the movie's also famous for that too. He was killed because of this movie. Things that have nothing to do with it. Yeah, it was political shit, and it just didn't sit well with some people apparently.
Yeah, I know he got murdered, but I didn't know what the reason was why he got murdered.
It is because of the film. It's political bullshit.
I remember I read something like somebody crushed his dick in with a bar or something like that. I just remember that. I know he was they said that he was murdered by the mafia, and he got, his whole body was all fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to believe that this story was written by Marquis de Sade in 1785, man.
Yeah, I know.
And it's it's based off the book, and it's crazy to think that he was writing shit like this back then. It just seemed really fucking messed up, man.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something that a normal, rational person would adapt to a film. Yeah. But when you got fucking 14 people with their assholes gaped open on the screen, I mean, it's you can only take so much of it. Lots of gay butt sex and a whole bunch of other things going along in this movie. Yeah. I don't know. Not really for me. Have you seen it, Moods? I know you said you haven't seen it,
no,
right?
I've owned it for years. I just still haven't got it. It's not really something I want to just pop in and enjoy. I don't know. It's the whole shit thing, man. I don't know.
Man. I mean, this one has it really, really good. Just huge plates of shit. Literally.
I'll pop it in one of these days, man. But it actually is insane how many Marquis de Sade, stories have been adapted to film, because this had a fucked up mind, man.
Yeah.
Real fucked up.
Why? What else has he adapted fucked up wise?
Marquis de Sade. Well, Jess Franco adapted a bunch of his stuff, and he's got ton. But a lot of his stuff was, very sexual, very pornographic stuff. That's kind of what he was known for doing. So it kind of played into Franco's world a lot. So lots of Marquis de Sade adaptations, but
yeah, needless to say, I probably won't be watching it again.
Yeah, the Marquis de Sade stuff isn't really my favorite, because it's basically like watching softcore porn shit. It's not like, this one's probably one of the more extreme type adaptations,
Yeah.
Dealing with that kind of harsh sexual content, but yeah, I don't know, man. That shit's definitely not. I've talked about it many times. I never understood like sadomasochistic sex and shit. I don't associate pain with sex, and like all that type of torture. Like, I don't get that shit at all, man. It's fucked up. But some people, that's their world,
Yeah.
People are weird, man. Weird.
Yeah.
So anyways, moving along here. Next up, another Patreon pick. Who sent me this one? Oh shit, where is it? James Couts.
Mr. Cock.
Mr. Cock sent me over one from 1996, a year that we actually did a top 10 show up, and I watched it for that show, actually. And it is an Asian film called Splatter, Naked Blood. JP, did you watch this one for the 96 show?
I couldn't find it back then. I know that was one that I had tried to find, I think, and couldn't find it.
Believe it or not, this thing is right on YouTube. It's actually, it's funny, there's a couple different versions on YouTube. One is like a Spanish dub one, because there always is like a Spanish dub, like for every movie you try to look for. And, but the one I watched on, actually, I don't know, this happens every once in a while. You'll find a film and you look at the runtime on the video and it's like 2.5 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? But it's because they uploaded it and then it replayed twice. But it's the whole uncut movie, but it just halfway through it just replays itself. I'm like, okay. But I made sure before I watched it and stuff. And I was like, okay. But so what we have here, it's a Japanese film. It's kind of playing off. At this time, Japan, they're really very notable for making some fucked up shit. Like guinea pig films and all that type of shit. This is kind of in that realm. A little more tongue-in-cheek, given the idea of what's going on here, but it's basically about this young scientist. He's like 17, 18 years old, and his mom is actually a doctor/scientist also, and she's conducting experiments on these 3 women about birth control. And he's come up with this new serum. He wants to basically invent something that's going to kind of change the world, turn pain into pleasure. And so he comes up with the serum, and he's like, well, I need to test it out on somebody. So he basically kind of hijacks his mom's experiments, and he puts his serum into her, into her syringes and shit. Anyways, he ends up injecting these women with this Myson drug that he's invented, with kind of disastrous results, because unfortunately it works almost too well for the women, turning any type of pain into extreme pleasure. And so what he does is he basically follows around these women and kind of documents what's going on in their lives and shit. It's kind of voyeuristic and weird. But my thoughts on the movie, oh, man, this movie, thank God it's a quick watch. It's actually quite fun. It's pretty funny. It takes a while to get going. There's a lot of like dialogue and shit. It's a short movie. It only runs about 75 minutes or something like that. And it takes about half the film to kind of finally get going, but when it starts getting going, these girls start experiencing pain that ultimately turns into pleasure. There's a really great scene in this film where this girl is deep frying like shrimp or something like that. Anyway, she gets this idea to put her hand in the deep fryer, and she deep fries her fucking hand and starts eating her fingers like fish fingers and shit. It's fucking awesome, man. It looks great. But the whole idea, it gets really gory. It's outrageous and stuff, but you think it would be played off a little more tongue-in-cheek. It's obviously you can't take it serious and shit, but it's played more serious than it is, tongue-in-cheek, which is kind of funny for a film like this. But overall, man, it's, the highlight of the movie is definitely the effects. The effects are great, man. It's 96, you You're not getting any CG and shit like that in there. Jesus Christ, Jeremy. Holy fuck.
I'm not even doing anything. I'm literally sitting here.
What is the fucking noise back there?
I don't know. I'm literally fucking sitting here.
I don't, what the hell is... You fucking moving your bed again or what?
I haven't fucking moved.
Okay, you had to have heard that then.
I'm sitting here with my dick out, and I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
I don't know. I was hearing like some crazy-ass furniture moving again, but... Anyways.
I haven't fucking moved.
Anyways, I don't know. Go figure that would happen again. Jesus Christ, I told you last
It's probably JP and Carly fucking in JP's bed.
But you did say
it was you. I heard it.
Yeah, see, I wasn't tripping out. I was like, it's so loud in my ears, man. What is that? Put your dick away. Put your fucking dick away. Come on.
Sorry, my balls itch. Jeez.
But yeah, I mean, if you've seen any of these kind of crazy Japanese films, you kind of know what to expect with this one. It's not as insane as you might think it is, but like I said, the highlight of the film is the effects and just the crazy scenes of these women basically start to mutilate themselves because it's pleasure. It gets really fucking nuts, man. It's a really fun time for the second half of the film once it kind of gets going and shit. Our main character, like the guy that created the mycin drug, he's a weirdo. He's kind of likable, kind of fun stuff. But all in all, I dig it, man. 6.5 out of 10. Definitely not a top shelfer, but it's interesting for the time. You didn't see a lot of these movies coming out, especially this time in the 90s, so sticks out. It's cool. JP.
Oh,
he's too busy. He didn't watch any movies this week.
I didn't.
Instead, he watched such classics as Storm Warning instead of watching Patreon films.
That is a Patreon film, you dumb fuck.
He reviewed that last week.
Oh, okay. How am I supposed to know? I wasn't here.
But oddly, you're still on the show though, because you kind of called it in.
Yeah. All right. So this is gonna be another quick one because honestly, this is so funny that I'm even gonna try to review this film because I tried to review this before and I had Mids cut it out. That is The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, 1972. It's so funny. Like years ago, when Jeremy, when that box set first came out from Arrow, I watched The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave and The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, and I went to review both of them and couldn't remember a damn thing about them.
It was funny. You got like about a minute into it, and he's like, "Well, fuck, I don't remember anything. We're gonna have to cut this out."
Yeah,
another film to review is so awesome.
But this is the only other one that I haven't talked about before because I've reviewed Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Frogs on the show before. So this is the only other film I've watched in like the past month that I haven't talked about yet. But okay, so The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. I've seen this twice now. Me and Carly actually watched this one. And it opens up with these two sisters who are fighting, named Kitty and Evelyn, and then basically their grandfather like stops them, and we get a little introduced into this family painting that has a red queen and a black queen, and apparently every 100 years the red queen kills 7 times. And the grandfather is hoping to end the cycle. It's like a family curse or something like that. Years later, Kitty accidentally kills Evelyn during a fight, and then their older sister helps her cover it up. And then there's basically a killer who they think is Evelyn returning from the dead, and they are killing people. And it's basically kind of like a giallo type. Okay, so also Sybil Danning's in this film.
Does she show her tits?
Yeah, titties.
Yeah, I believe she does.
Yeah, I think she does that. Yeah.
Is it as good as Holland 2?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really already remember. Like, this one already has left my memory, but I remember what I felt like while watching this one. I was like, wait, who's that? Wait, what is going on here? I remember feeling that the entire movie. And me and Carly were even laughing about it. I was like, wait, now who the fuck is this? They keep introducing characters to you. And another problem with this one is like there's 3.5 sisters, technically. And it's like they don't really establish everybody very well.
So
and
it sounds like the washing machine that we had to review last November.
Probably.
You don't remember that?
No, not really. My memory is fucking
Italian horror month.
They introduce all those characters in the washing machine. It's just 3 sisters.
There's like at one point you're just like, okay, there's this girl and this dude out by a car, and like, what? Now, who are they? What do they have to do? Oh, and that, okay, it turns out that person was a major player in this at the end. I just remember feeling like it's not a bad movie. It's just, it's very convoluted in its giallo nature. Like, you know how a lot of giallos can be convoluted, and this one felt very convoluted by the end of it. I wish I could really say more, but I don't remember. Like, the sister that dies, they basically say that she went to America when they cover up the murder. So they think that she's come back to kill, but they check where her body is and it's still there. So they're like, okay, what's going on here? But they can't say, you know, it can't be her because we killed her. You know, they can't tell everybody that. So, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's all right. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I got to rewatch it myself, man. I've seen it a couple times, and I don't remember the specifics of it either.
Dude, I watched this like a couple weeks ago, and dude, like I remember being confused while watching it, but 2 weeks later, I can barely remember anything. I do just remember that I felt like, wow, and I paid really close attention to it too. Like, we were really watching it and talking about it as we were watching it. Like, who's this person? And then we're like, oh wait, I get it. Because one of the sisters is a blonde-haired girl, and then another one is like a red-headed girl. Yeah. And you're like, but it's like a reddish blonde, so they look the same kind of. And then there's a black-haired sister, but then there's a twist with a sister.
Does this only happen to you in Italian or foreign films? Do you ever because this is something that plagues you with foreign films, is that you can never tell the characters apart.
Yeah, because they don't fucking care. Italian filmmakers mainly, but other filmmakers don't give a fuck either. Like, they don't try to, like, that's something that I really do appreciate about American films, is they really try to make sure that you can tell everybody apart. They give them each traits, or they give them,
you know what, man, looks. I do have an example, man, because for years and years and years, I always would get the 2 bitches. I don't know why I just call them bitches. Fuck, that's just rude. But the 2 bitches from Friday 3 mixed up. I don't know what the fuck it is about that movie and those 2 like the one girl that's pregnant in the film, and the other one, not like the dark one, like the Latino or whatever, but the other 2 blonde haired chick. I always get them fucking mixed up. So I don't know. Maybe it happens in American films too.
Well, Kimberly Beck? No, she's in part 4.
Well, I mean, slashers are different though, because like for the most part these characters are throwaway, but in films like this where everybody's supposed to have a part, and honestly, like, I swear one of the characters is just thrown at you like halfway through the movie, and you're like, who the fuck is this? And you just have a scene with them, and I'm like,
see, that's one of the biggest problems with giallos and making, you know, good giallos versus mediocre to bad giallos, is you try not to convolute, you know, the story. You try to do the best you can. And see, that's one of the things that plagues giallos, is that exact thing, is throwing characters into the mix. And it's supposed to kind of throw you off and stuff, but at the same time, you're like, who the fuck is this person? Like, what is their significance of being in the film? You know, because in a giallo, you have to have an abundance of characters, or, you know, if you only have like 3 characters in a movie, I mean, killer has to be one of them, right?
Yeah.
Right, it has to allude to something within the film, you know, unless, of course, they do the bird with the crystal plumage thing, and they just all of a sudden remember something or forget something or whatever. That's actually funny. In all the colors of giallo, they even, remember that, Jeremy? They were even making fun of that idea of, you know, oh, we just kind of throws it in. Oh, we just remembered something now. Fuck. You know, he's like, that's what separates the good giallos from the bad giallos. But
yeah, but no, honestly, like the Italian films that I love, like Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about that film is I can easily tell everybody apart.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a huge cast of characters in that one. It's easy to follow.
I mean, I won't say every Italian film that I've been 100% on all the characters. I mean, it happens in certain films, you know, because they'll introduce characters and they'll kind of come and go, and you're like, what?
Watching it this time, I did. By the end of it, I fully understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I have already forgot since, but I remember me and Carly talked it out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so this is what happened." Blah blah. Like there was another sister. Blah blah. I remember like figuring it all out, and then
did Carly like it?
Can't remember. Not really.
Yeah, she's not really much for Italian films, is she?
No. No, I tried. I wanted to watch Your Vice is a Locked Room because we hung out and watched like 3 or 4 in a row. Like we watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Deathline, this, and then like Frogs or something else. And I tried to get her. I brought over Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have a Key as well. Mm-hmm. She, after we watched Red Queen Kills 7 times, she was like, "No thanks." I was like, "No, this one's much better. I swear."
Interesting.
But I'm making her watch it before the show because I think I'd be surprised if that film didn't make somebody's list.
I recently watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things again also, and you know, I always have the same complaint about that movie. I wish there was more zombies in it because once the zombie action gets going, it's pretty fun. Yeah,
but you know what, man? It's very like comedic and weird. It's like quirky like throughout most of the movie.
Yeah,
it's
like
just,
the main characters.
The atmosphere is like really fun. And like creepy, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe Bob Clark made this, you know, and you see what he went on to do. And then I don't know, I liked it a lot more this time than I did the first time that I seen it. But yeah, you're right, it needs more zombies.
Yeah, it takes too long to get going, but even the zombies themselves look pretty fucking cool. It does. It has a good setting and shit like that. It's just, but it's the budget, right? He had like no money while he made that film, so he could only have like 15 minutes of zombie action. But yeah. Did Carly like it?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, really? Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Jeremy.
All right. Next up, or last up for me, I will talk about Crawlspace from the year 1972. So back in the day, before Roald Dahl released a whole bunch of shit and banned Moods and other reviewers for giving those shitty movies bad reviews, they made and released some pretty okay films. And 10 years ago, in the wonderful year of 2009, they released this film for the first time on DVD, Crawlspace, from the year 1972. Now, if you want to pick up this movie on DVD from good old Wild Eye, you're going to have to fork over $100 because the movie's fucking out of print and hard as shit to find. But this is a TV film from, of course, 1972. Runs about 75 minutes like most of the TV films from this year as I've seen. And this is a pretty cool film. We follow a middle-aged couple, a man and a woman. They have no children. They're pretty much stay to themselves, typical American kind of couple. And one day this man comes into their house to fix the furnace in their crawl space. And, of course, I'm not coughing because I can't remember JP. I'm coughing because I'm sick. He doesn't leave, and he ultimately lives in the crawl space. And this couple, of course, never having any children of themselves, they become quite fond of this man, and they pretty much welcome him to stay and try to, you know, accept him as one of their own and brings them into the family and invites him to participate in Christmas and things like that. Very heavy character-driven kind of a piece. But, you know, it's a made-for-TV film, so you don't get too many murders or effects or anything like that. It's basically a heavy dialogue-based film. But this movie is really fucking cool. It's this guy who's living in the crawl space, a very weird, strange kind of character. He's clearly off and has had some mama troubles of himself. You know, he clearly hasn't had any kind of normal relationship with a mother or father, and he doesn't really fit in with society, and he doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, and these two people are attempting to make him into a normal person. But instead, he just lives in a crawl space and acts weird and doesn't get along with anybody and things like that. It definitely says a lot about, parents who haven't had children, who can't have children, and what happens when they have to deal with that, and and bringing a total stranger into their lives to live in their crawl space and the things that go along with that. I really dug this film. It's really, really cool. Pretty fun and different, and I recommend it if you guys could find it, to check it out. You can find it on YouTube and stuff. I don't know what the transfer is and the Wild Eye release, if it's any better than whatever is on YouTube, but it's a really cool film, original kind of narrative, and like I said, it's not crazy with the murders and the effects or anything like that. It's more of a thriller kind of narrative, but I really did enjoy it. Check it out if you get a chance. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Cool film. I really did like Crawlspace.
Yeah, it's good shit, man. It's like 72 has a lot of really solid TV films.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool, man. JP, make sure you watch that one.
Yeah, I plan on it. I know Steve, Shark Extreme 1 was a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I wish it'd get re-released, man. I'd pick it up for sure. It's kind of funny, actually, because, that was one of the very first films that Wild Eye ever released.
Yep.
Funny
now
how
it's like
they've changed.
Well,
over $100.
They probably couldn't afford to license out those films, so they just went the whole indie, really no-budget route.
Yeah, I wonder if they stole it.
Who knows? Maybe that's why it went out to print. Maybe they didn't even have the rights to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so finally here for me tonight, another Patreon pick coming from our boy D Boogie, a.k.a. Derek.
Uh-oh.
Sent me over the oddest fucking movie for me to review. I don't know where his head was at with this one and why he wanted me to talk about this, because I think it must be a little bit of a joke, because he knows I'm not a big fan of Marvel live-action films at all anymore. I used to be when I was younger. I know they've gotten better and stuff. I just can't bring myself to go back, and because there's like a million of them now, I'm way behind. So, but this one in particular is an animated Justice League film from 2013, Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. So I mean, right there, I was kind of intrigued because, I like I said last week on the show when I was talking about Wicked City, I do really enjoy animated stuff. Like, I'm kind of a kid at heart, and I still watch cartoons and things. So this, I was interested to see something. It's different because it's like a alternate reality, hence paradox. But so basically, what the storyline in this one is, we're dealing with the Flash here, and one day he's visiting his mom's grave and shit like that, and he gets a call from the homies, I think Captain Cold, and about a break-in, and it turns out it's his kind of arch nemesis Zoom. He's like the bad version of the Flash, has kind of set up this whole break-in to destroy the city and shit. So they stop this thing. The Flash wakes up the next day and everything is different. He's all of a sudden in this paradox universe where nothing is the same. His mom's alive. Nobody's who they are. There is no Justice League. And
sounds like Happy Death Day 2.
Yeah. So there's no Justice League. And worst of all, he doesn't have his powers. He's not the Flash anymore. He's just Barry Allen. And so, of course, we've got Cyborg, who kind of tries to get everyone together, convince everybody that, they're part of this elite league called the Justice League, that, you guys save the world and shit. Because in this paradox universe, Wonder Woman is like a fucking Viking. She's bad. She's at war with, Aquaman. And, they're basically taking over the entire world. There was supposed to be some type of peace treaty where, they were supposed to, kind of get on the same side. That turned fatal when Wonder Woman chopped Aquaman's wife's head off. And they show that in the animated movie. It's pretty fucking cool. So, like, this paradox world is just out of control. It's crazy. Batman is dead. Batman in the paradox world is actually played by his father, which is actually another really cool fucking thing. Some really damn cool scenes. So basically what it is,
Dude, don't you know it's the era of the R-rated Marvel animated film?
I gotta say, man, if this is the way these movies were all the time, I'd watch the shit out of these. This is fantastic. it's really fast paced. It's a really cool fucking story. This Paradox stuff really had piqued my interest, man. I was loving every minute of this. This is fantastic shit, man. I'm not even like that in tune with DC, but I know all the characters. Actually, I'm not really too in tune with Cyborg. But anyway, Cyborg kind of, he's kind of a weird character. Actually, I don't really care for him too much, but yeah. So the thing is, Barry Allen is Barry Allen now. He's got to get his powers back, and there's this really insane scene where he tries to mimic how he got his powers in the first place, and it's so crazy, dude. He like catches on fire and shit. And, it's actually pretty funny. He like burns up and stuff, and he's like, "Okay, well, we're gonna try this again. This didn't work, so next time we do it, can you put the flames out a little faster?" He's talking to Batman's dad. It's pretty cool, but all in all, man, it's really awesome, man. I love the story. Like, there's so much plot to this, and where it goes, and how it kind of resolves and stuff. Like, we got everybody in there. Lois Lane's in there, Lex Luthor, like all the DC characters are involved. It's pretty cool. Great action. Fucking, it's gory. I think it's rated PG-13, I think is the rating on this.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So, yeah, so it's got like a little bit of gory scenes and things like that. So, that's pretty cool, man. But I love the story. The story was fantastic, and how it resolves its stuff, and the battle with Zoom, the Flash and shit. I love the fact that, Zoom could withheld his powers and the Flash's powers and shit. So when he gets them back, he could like withhold them, and it really cool stuff, man. But how it comes about, and awesome. I know there's a lot more of these Justice League type things and stuff. I don't know if they're as dark as this, but if they're out there, I do want to check them out, because it was fantastic stuff, man. I like the whole idea of Batman being dead in this Paradox world, and his dad being Batman. It's really fucking cool how they did it, man. But awesome stuff, man. I'm giving this one 9 out of 10. I don't really know how to rate these proper. Like, that's just how I feel I should do, I guess. Good stuff, though.
Like I said, there's a shitload of, not a shitload, but there's a bunch of R-rated ones.
Yeah, I mean,
these
are
I think
fun.
Derek was on a kick of those. Like, I think he picked up a bunch of the animated things and was just going to town watching them. So that's probably why he.
It's really interesting to see these characters act like that. Like Wonder Woman, not good, chopping Aquaman's wife's head off and shit. It's really fucking cool, man. I love it. Like how she gets her kind of crown thing and stuff. Awesome, really fun. But have you seen this one, Jeremy?
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, okay.
I just know from stuff that there's some R-rated. A lot of the Batman ones I know are R-rated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just honestly, man, like
I just don't know where to start. That's why I've never really watched them.
I'm kind of like that with it too. Like, I don't know where to go from here and stuff. But I mean, if they really have in-depth plots like this and shit, like how everything gets resolved, it's so fucking cool, man. Like how it involves like why the paradox actually happened and shit. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool twist, man. Really fucking cool, and how it involves his mom and like all this type of things, and it all makes sense. You're like, damn, man, that's really inventive. Really cool shit, man. Highly recommend Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. Good stuff. An odd thing to review on here, but yeah, man, if you're into this, check it out.
All right.
Sounds cool.
All right, so last up for me is my one and only Patreon pick this week. I did squeeze it in before the show, and that is 2000. Now, I was unsure. Rob Hankins gave me this one. It's on the Patreon page. It's wrote 2007, but I have it as 2006, so hopefully this is the right film. But this is the William Friedkin film Bug from 2006.
I wanted to watch this again.
This is a film that I have seen before. I actually have a decent history with this film. So back in, years ago, like 2013, 14, somewhere around there, I used to have a YouTube series where I would do like seven days of horror, and it was like a little theme thing, and I would do like Stephen King films, and I would review 7 Stephen King films every day of the week. And I did one for insect horror, and I had ordered from Go Hastings actually a film from 2006 called Bugs with an S, and they sent me this one. And it wasn't the Bugs film was a Sci-Fi Channel film, like Killer Scorpions or something. And I got this, and so I was like, "What the hell? I'll watch it anyway." And it's technically a psychological horror film. Like that's how it's described anyway. But I watched it and I absolutely loved it. Loved this movie the first time I seen it. And I actually, oddly enough, this was the first film I ever lent Carly when we started becoming friends. No.
That was fucking perfect. That was good. That was good. That was fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started talking to her, when we started working together, I was like, told her that I had recently seen this, and I lent it to her, and I figured if she watched it and liked it, she was probably pretty cool. But yeah, this film follows a woman who is named Agnes, and she's a waitress at a gay bar. She lives in like a rundown motel in Oklahoma. She has a lesbian friend named RC. She invites RC back to her motel room, and RC brings this guy, Peter, with them. And they all hang out a little bit. RC has to jet. You could tell that Agnes has been abused in the past. She seems sort of reserved, maybe like has some beef towards men. And that's why she's like kind of lesbian right now. Anyway, this Peter guy sticks around and hangs out with Agnes, and they end up sort of hitting it off a little bit. By the way, all three were kind of doing drugs and drinking. This film is very light on the drug use, but you get the sense that even though they don't show the drug use in the film, you get the sense that these are regular drug users. I think that's a metaphor for this film. You literally see it a little bit, but I think it's supposed to be more involved than what you actually see. I just feel like they didn't want to harp on it, which I thought was a good move. So basically these two start, talking to each other, getting to know each other a little bit. Peter is a very odd guy. He just had this way that he talks, the way that he sort of acts, almost gullible, like shy, like nice guy act that he has. It's not an act, it really is who he is. And then he's like just a very mysterious, like drifter guy. Basically they kind of, I really don't want to spoil much in this film, but essentially there's one moment in the film, and I remember when I first watched this, there's just this one fucking moment where you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then from that point on, it just goes into full-blown madness. And it is fucking amazing. Like, this movie is, I remember when I first seen it, I said, this is the most purest, literal depiction of mental illness, schizophrenia, madness, crazy person thing that I've ever seen. I met somebody one time who was where I was working at the hotel, who 100% was like insane. Like, they were just a completely insane person, and it reminded me exactly of these two. Like, they are just crazy, man. Like, I don't know what kind of research freaking did for this film, but I just feel like the way that this is handled is like absolutely amazing. The way these characters completely devolve, and by the end of it, you're just so into it. You're like, oh my God, like, how did this get to here? And you see it happen. It unfolds perfectly, where you see like these little hints of the one character and how she can become this way. And you see the little hints early on of like, okay, well, this person was like this the entire time. We just didn't really realize it because of the situation and the reserved setting. And it just gets so good, man. Like, this is, if you've never seen this movie, it is absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I've always loved it from the first time I seen it. And when I got this on, I don't know if I mentioned that I liked it before, if Rob picked this film based on something I had said, or he just thought I would like it. But when I seen it get picked for me, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I can't wait to revisit that. But yeah, it's fucking awesome, man. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. And the only reason, there's one scene that I'm confused about. A like social worker guy, not a social worker, but like somebody from a hospital comes to find one of the characters, and he just starts smoking drugs, and it just seems really out of nowhere. I didn't really understand that. But that's the only scene that I didn't really get.
Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd, great performances.
Dude, oh my God. You know what's crazy about that guy, Michael Shannon, is he played Greg Buell in 8 Mile, which is Eminem's like stepdad, like the guy that Eminem's mom's dating.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, we used to fucking talk about him so much because my friend Marty, his mom was dating a guy that looked just fucking like him, and his name was Greg, and he acted the same fucking way, and they were like, and Marty's mom, like, they went and junking for money. They were like alcoholics and stuff, but it was, and this guy, even in this movie, he fucking looks exactly like this dude who I used to know when I was a kid. It just fucking weirds me out, man.
I've said it. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Go ahead. Oh, I literally just picked this up like a few months ago because I wanted to revisit it. The only way to get it is on HD DVD if you want to watch it in HD, and it's a fucking rare fucking HD DVD to pick up, so I had to get the DVD, but I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while.
It's so good, man.
Yeah.
The performances are some of the best of all time in this film.
Yeah, never made it to Blu-ray. I don't get why.
Yeah, it is weird, actually.
It's Lionsgate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I fucking love that. Oh, dude, it just gets so out there, man. So it's so good, dude, and it just goes from 0 to 60 in like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie is a trip, man. It really is a trip. I always said, if I was ever to make a film, I would try to get Michael Shannon in it because he's like that guy can kill any role,
dude,
man.
He's so good in this film.
I know he's just
he's one of those film Moots can be reviewed.
Yeah, I fucking love Michael. Like everything he's in, man. I always gravitate to his acting. It's just, I don't know. He's just good. I think he's that guy who can pull off anything. So, yeah.
He's the lead in Shape of Water. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that'll be coming up in a couple weeks.
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, Bug, excellent film, man. Shit. And that's it. That's it for what we watched.
Hey, yo, we got them dope rhyme similes and verbs ready to spit movie knowledge to all you freaky horror nerds. It's your boy Moods representing the 22 Shots crew. We about to hit your ass up with a bonus review. Yeah!
All right, moving along here into the bonus review. And, wow, I don't even know who sent this one over.
Mr. Lechem.
Mr. Lechem?
Mark Lechem.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He always gives us interesting films.
Yeah, no shit. I had heard about this movie because I know that Dark Sky had put it out on DVD years ago. It's been really fucking hard to get out of print. Never seen it before.
Really? I've seen it for like $5 all the time.
Really? I've never seen a copy of it before. I've only ever seen it on Amazon and shit, and it was going for ridiculous money. From 1969, it's a film from Czechoslovakia, when they were Czechoslovakia, called The Cremator.
Well, this movie was banned until Czechoslovakia fell, and then once it fell, they found the print in some warehouse or something, and they released it and it became a really popular film. But it was banned from the minute it was made until...
Yeah, it showed at a festival, I believe, in 69
Yeah.
and shit like that, and then they banned it in Czechoslovakia. I know it was shown after, like, in the early 70s and other places, I think, but it was banned in Czechoslovakia until the communist, regime fucking folded in, I think, 89.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a thing, man. It's definitely a product of its time and its culture and shit like that, for sure. But shot in black and white, which I thought was interesting for 1969.
I would assume even in Czechoslovakia, like, I don't know their films well enough, but I would assume filmmakers didn't have the access to colored film, or...
Well, it was probably just cheaper.
More expensive, yeah.
Or the simple fact that this, what I was thinking why it was either two things. It's either a budget thing, because black and white film is a lot cheaper than color film. We all know that. And also the fact that this is set during World War II, which was, if you were setting it at that time, if you were to film, it would have been in black and white anyways. So it could have something to do with that too. If they did that, it's kind of clever. But yeah, Cremator 1969, set in World War II, a demented cremator believes cremation reveals earthly sufferings and sets out to save the world. Wow.
This guy is, like, you spend the whole film with him and you really like him, and you connect with him, but he's a fucking evil son of a bitch. Like, he's no worse than Hitler in the sense that Hitler thought he was God, but this guy thinks he's so much in part of the process of, if it wasn't for him, all these people would be left in their bodies suffering, and they would never be released to go into heaven. But he's just so focused, like, if it wasn't for me, it's smart. So important.
It starts out on a smaller scale for sure.
Yeah.
He's he's a cremator, that's what he does. And then he gets this idea, his ideology in his mind is like, I'm setting these souls free and I'm doing good for the world. And he is trying to play God a little bit. Yeah. It's in his mind kind of thing. But, as his friend introduces him to the Czechoslovakian Nazi party, it kind of takes on like a whole different aspect of what he's doing with releasing souls. Now he wants to be basically Hitler. He wants to purify, because there's all this conversation in the film about, blood. There's no difference in this and that and stuff. And then, there's a point in the film when he kind of accepts being in this Nazi party, which it goes along with his beliefs and stuff. There's a problem with it. There's a contradiction there, because throughout the entire film, this character that we follow, we'll just call him the Cremator, he genuinely loves his family. He loves his son. He loves his wife. He loves everybody around him. He's a really nice guy. He's a leader. He's not a follower. He kind of does everything, on the outside for the good. And there becomes a point in the film where his ideas and ways change so drastically that he ultimately needs to cleanse even his own family, because he finds out, that they're quarter Jewish.
Yeah.
It's a really, really fucking well-made movie. Like, I was so enthralled right from the opening scene, because, this is a very heavy dialogue film, shot in black and white. We follow this character. He's in every scene. He's spitting knowledge, and he's talking about, like, all this type of things, and it's really... I was drawn into it. I was so drawn into it. It was the tone of his voice. It was awesome. I just loved it. And it just, you can see where this is going, though. It's predictable in its ways. It doesn't hurt the film whatsoever, but I love how it just progresses into what it is. It's, essentially it's an allegory.
Well, it was interesting, like, when they're talking back to that blood idea, like, that scene in the wax museum when they're all fucking the real people and they're all fucking bleeding and shit like that. Like, every one of those people are not pure kind of people. They're a little person, or they're a murderer, or they're somebody who committed suicide or anything like that. They're not pure, but he shows that shot of them, of that one person bleeding when the knife gets pulled out. And I think it's like one of the most interesting shots of the movie, because what happens later on in the film with the pure blood and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. That scene is so foreshadowing what's going to happen.
Well,
later
the whole
on
movie, it's cool you bring that up, because the whole movie is foreboding. It's foreboding. Like, the whole entire movie is, like, it's got this very gothic atmosphere to it, and the tone of the film is very, it's subtle in its approach, but like, it's just straight doom. Right?
Uh-oh. JP's pulling a JF Era 1 moment here.
Because the thing I like about the setting and the ideas, and it's cool because they don't overdo it with, the Nazis coming in, because you have that idea that the Nazis are coming to invade. They are going to be taking over. So you kind of get this impression that, it's like, well, we better join them, or we're getting fucking taken over kind of thing. Right. So I like that whole doom and gloom idea of that too, that's going on. But yeah, it's a great allegory, man. This movie is fantastic in that sense, man. There's so much going on here. It's just, German expressionism at its finest.
It's solely based,
and it's ironic too, right? Because it's about the Germans and the war and stuff, but they're using their style of filmmaking to create this story, to create this allegory. And it's, man, dude, this needs a Criterion release. This is a great movie.
Yeah, I think I get more out of it if I've seen it once, but luckily I watched this one and JP didn't watch it, so he's pulling a torture chamber right now. JP, you have anything to say about it?
I'm not pulling at anything. I was just listening to you guys. So first of all, I didn't get any of that shit, really. I fucking...
What?
Like, seriously, I didn't know that his family was like 1/4 Jewish or something, whatever you said like that. I must have missed that. Yeah. I didn't understand that. I was really confused during this whole movie. I didn't understand that like the Nazis were like nearby getting closer. Like I felt like this film was super wordy. I didn't understand a lot of the shit that was going on in it. It is so dialogue heavy, but you have like there's one thing that I will say that I think is pretty cool about this movie is the way that the editing is. Sometimes you'll be in a scene and it'll cut to another scene, and it just seems very different for the time.
It's seamless.
German expressionism.
It's seamless. It's seamless editing. It's very cool because you'll see it like he's kind of reaching for something. All of a sudden, you're in the next scene.
It's almost like jarring at first because you're like, wait a minute, what? Like he's at that like massage parlor.
The transitions are phenomenal.
I just didn't get them. I just didn't pick up on anything the Inns are talking about. Like, I don't know. I was just like, what is this movie about?
Well, they even say in one point, like, oh, the Germans are coming closer. They're right over this wall or something. I know,
but there's so much that they're talking about, like Dalai Lama, and I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, he's talking a lot about reincarnation, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I didn't understand like most of the movie. Like what you guys explained, it sort of makes more sense, but like what did all this shit have to do with reincarnation? He talks so much about reincarnation. What the fuck is he talking about?
Well, Hitler is all about that being white and having reincarnation. I'm like, that's
wait, Hitler was about reincarnation?
Well, like only having the white. That's why another reason why he killed all the Jews is that he didn't want any of them to be reincarnated into that's why he burned all their bodies, so their souls wouldn't be able to enter into, be reincarnated into another Jewish soul.
Hitler was all into that fucking occult and all those ideologies of that
stuff. Reincarnation really isn't a cult.
No, it's not. It's religious stuff. Like he was very much into that, all that type of stuff. He studied all that shit, man.
Yeah. Which is weird because like here he like it's all about burning the body. Hitler really didn't burn the bodies too much. That's why all those mass graves was. And I think that's an interesting, maybe that Hitler had this idea that the same idea that if you burn the bodies, they'd be reincarnated. But Hitler was mainly just about he would gas them and then he would bury them in all these mass death pits. So it was interesting.
Yeah,
that
his idea I think was the souls wouldn't leave the body if you gassed them. They'd be trapped in there. Hence burying them in mass graves and things like that. So,
So what you're saying is this dude is basically like a cremator. He loves his family and shit, but then he starts fucking around with Nazis and he goes mad and starts believing in their shit and kills his family.
Essentially, I mean, he's kind of like Hitler in a sense.
Yeah, because he's so focused on he thinks that if it wasn't for him, he's kind of like a god character. If it wasn't for him burning all these bodies, that these souls would be trapped in these bodies for the rest of their lives, and they wouldn't be able to get reincarnated.
See, his
and
goal,
they're basically going to suffer for their entire life.
Yeah, his goal was to free these souls. Exactly.
Yeah.
He was playing God essentially. He feels like his part in this world, being a cremator or releasing these souls and shit like that, is what he was there to do. But it gets more extreme once he gets introduced to these other ideas of purification.
See, I missed all that. I don't know. When did he start getting into all these other ideas? What part of the film is that?
45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, when his friend literally comes to him with a contract to sign and shit to go into that Czechoslovakian Nazi group and stuff. And, it was a lot to do with the Jews.
I guess
and stuff.
when I
ideas
picture Nazis, I just picture people with fucking swastikas and all that.
This is pre that,
none of those in there. Yeah, I guess so. Because isn't this film set in the 30s or something, right?
Yeah, it's set. I think it's set
That's
pre.
What Wikipedia says that it's set in the 30s.
Yeah, I know. I think it's honestly. I don't really know. It says it's
set in
World War II, but it's totally not. It's maybe late 30s. I'm assuming.
It'd be World War I or something, right?
Well, no, World War II.
World War I was in 1915, bro.
World War I was from 1914 to 1918. World War II was 39 to 45. So I'm thinking this is probably at the beginning of World War II, right?
Yeah.
39-ish. Because they even talk about how the Nazis were, invading. They hint at that.
It says here the movie takes place against the backdrop of political radicalization in Europe during the 1930s, more specifically the demise of the Golden Era, First Czechoslovakia Republic, and the establishment of the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia under Nazi Germany. Spiritually, the movie takes place in the aftermath of the death of Tibetan Gestapo? No, Guy Atso, the 13th Dalai Lama in 1933.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
So just after mid 30s kind of thing, just pre World War II, but the shit was going on, right? The Nazis were preparing. They were preparing. It's just the war started in 39, right? So there was the ideas there, but
I guess maybe if I knew a little bit more about, I didn't really look into this film either.
The history,
I didn't even know anything about. I didn't even know it had anything to do with.
I don't know a lot about Czechoslovakia's history and stuff, but I do know a lot about World War II. So, it made sense. They were going there.
Yep.
Their goal was to take over everything. So we know that. But yeah, man.
I'm surprised you didn't pick it up at JP because they clearly spoke about it in dialogue and things like that.
Well, they speak about so much. Dude, this film is literally nothing but dialogue. And it's fucking super wordy.
Oh, I loved it.
I said, they were talking about reincarnation forever. And I was like, what's the point of this? And they're talking about the Dalai Lama. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck a Dalai Lama is. And, I'm just like, I don't know. I fucking paid attention to this motherfucker. I just couldn't get into it. I was like, this movie sucks.
Oh, it sucks.
Fuck, this is actually one of the best movies I've seen in a long time,
dude,
man.
No, this movie was
it's deep red all over again.
And I was like, nothing happens.
What do you mean so much happens?
Nothing happens in this movie.
Dude,
you have to use your brain.
Just because you didn't fully grasp the film doesn't mean nothing happened, man. I think it's insanely powerful. Him going from where he was with his family to what he ended up doing is insane.
Yeah, it feels fake.
It's not fake at all, man. He was already trying to play God with the cremation anyways.
Didn't that seem a little bit ridiculous?
No,
come
it
on,
doesn't.
Dude, you're God because you fucking are burning bodies. There's nobody else in the world burning bodies.
He's basically a metaphor. He's basically a metaphor for Hitler. It's exactly how they're treating him. It's exactly what he is. He's a Hitler character. If you put that into perspective and you put that into play, it makes a lot of sense, right? It having to do with the Jews and what he does to his family. It's plain as day, man. But
because he sees them as he sees them as Jewish, so he has to get. They're not pure, and they shouldn't be reincarnated. So
how did he find out that they were Jewish? By the way, didn't he ask? He was asking about a blood test or something, but then the dude was like, "You can't do that" or something.
Yeah, it has something to do with the doctor. I can't remember exactly how. So I remember the conversation with the doctor about blood and stuff like that, and he, I don't know, I can't quite remember, but he does find out. I think he actually knew anyways what their backgrounds were. Man. I think that's what their backgrounds were. So
you got to watch it again, JP. It's just like Lost Highway.
It's a really fucking, man, dude. See, I love movies with dialogue. If it wasn't for the
you didn't like Lost Highway either until I explained
I did.
it.
I like Lost Highway, you faggot.
If it wasn't for the Cremator's his tantalizing voice, like I love that shit. I was just staring at my computer, just like, holy fuck, this is awesome. I don't know. I love shit like this. It was great, but to me, it had this like insane, like this German expressionism film with like it had like such a dream-like atmosphere to it too. I don't know if it was the mixing on the voices.
There was some cool shots. POV shots that were kind of like weird looking and stuff towards the end and stuff. I kind of dug that, but
the cinematography is great, man. The transitions in the film are fantastic. I thought the acting all around was really good. It's a shocking film. I mean, Christ, I can't imagine. I mean, it blows my mind that this movie even got made in a communist country, anyways.
Yeah, that seems kind of weird,
right? I mean. Yeah, that's fucking blows my mind too.
Was this guy killed for making this shit?
No.
That's why it was never shown, though.
Yeah, I know it was submitted to the Oscars for Best Foreign Film. It never got nominated, but it should have. In my opinion.
It came out in 19... I wonder what it came out in 19... What year did this come out? 69. 69. When it came out in 69. I think a Godard film came out in 69, so that probably won.
Yeah, it won awards. Like, okay, here it says right here, 1972, it won for best film, cinematography. It won a bunch of awards at Stitges Film Festival. So it was being shown after it was banned in Czechoslovakia. So maybe the other prints just disappeared.
Also, it's described as a horror. It's described as a comedy.
Yeah, that doesn't make.
Where the fuck is the comedy in this entire movie?
I think that there's. I don't know, man. See, I was trying to figure that out too, and I'm like, maybe there's some dark
like a
comedy.
Complete cultural disconnect with that shit.
Yeah, but that's also somebody putting that on there. I don't really get that either. I couldn't find it, and I was going to mention that too. Is there any dark comedy in the film? I didn't really see it. I thought the subject matter. I thought the subject matter was pretty serious and just dark, but not dark comedic.
Yeah,
at all. No. I mean, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So,
ratings.
GP, you go. I didn't like this movie. I clearly didn't get it. Obviously, even when explained, I still it doesn't seem overly impressive to me. I don't know. You guys are high on it. I didn't care for it that much. I mean, I was like entertained enough, I guess, but I didn't see. I guess I don't know the history or something because it wasn't really connecting with me. I was just like, oh, so we go through all that to see this guy murder his family at the end with a crowbar. Cool. Fun. I gave it a 6. I was at a 5. Just so you know. I came up a whole point from you guys talking about it.
God damn. Jeremy?
8.5 for me.
I think one...
Didn't you? I thought you gave that a 7.
Ongoing theme.
I gave it a 7.5, and then if we were talking about it, I bumped it up a point.
I think one of the ongoing themes in the film that I thought was very fascinating was the Cremator alluded to the fact that he was, that he didn't drink and he didn't smoke over and over and over again. It's kind of like, he's to the point where he's even bragging about it. I thought that's very interesting. He's thinking he's very godly, better than everybody else. But there is a moment in the film where he kind of subjects himself for it. Even in the subtitle, it even says, "I'll take a token drink." I was like, "What the fuck?" That's weird. Never heard that before. I love this movie, man. This was really damn good. 9.5 out of 10. It's great stuff.
That's
man.
Probably the biggest fucking gap we've ever had.
Oh, fuck. I'd watch this again in a second. I loved it. It's great stuff. I'm surprised, Jeremy, you're not higher, considering...
Yeah, I liked it enough. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good shit, man. This is my type of shit, man. I like heavy dialogue films like this if it's interesting. And that guy's tone of voice, man, had me just sucked right in. I think if he had a shitty ass voice, it would have been harder to read the subtitles. But,
yeah.
But it was just very tantalizing. He was very smooth and just great casting. So, but that is the Cremator from 1969.
69, dude.
Funny enough, 1969 at one point was going to be our second retro top 10 of the year show. Because initially when we came up with it, 68, and we were just going to go in order. Then we decided to do the randomizer.
And now, our feature presentation.
That's it for the bonus review. Let's move along into the featured reviews.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah, episode 156. This is OG versus Remake. Of course, Maniac, 1980 against Maniac, 2012. Are you going to title this? Are these volumes or? Are they
No, we've never done volumes with the OG versus Remakes. But I believe this is like the fourth or fifth one.
Yeah, I had no idea. I know we haven't done a lot of these, but
yeah, we did.
Yeah, I know we did tell a story last week.
Toolbox Murder.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I know we talked about this last week, but this was supposed to be episode
4
originally. So.
Yep.
And all the way here on 156 is finally getting done.
You know what? We do volume them. The last one was number 4.
Oh, really? I know we did My Bloody Valentine. We've done Toolbox Murders. Those are the only ones I can remember.
I think we did...
Sorority House Massacre first.
House on Sorority Road. That was number 4, but what was number 3?
Did we?
Cat People. It was Cat People.
Oh yeah, Cat People. That's right.
One of the lowest rated episodes of all time.
I like Cat People.
People just don't dig cat people, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, man. First up here, Maniac from the year I was born, 1980, directed by William Lustig, who is
a big fat Jewish man.
He's cool, man. I like William Lustig, man. He hasn't
I've met him a shit ton.
He hasn't, I wish Lustig had done more films, to be honest. He didn't really direct a lot of movies. He was more involved in, he was involved with, I think he's one of the guys that started Anchor Bay, and then of course he owns Blue Underground and stuff too, so got other business ventures, but he's also responsible for directing Vigilante, which is a fantastic film. Vigilante.
Uncle Sam, which is not a fantastic film.
He did Maniac Cop 2,
Uncle Sam,
Maniac Cop 3, which is not the greatest, and then of course he did the abomination of Uncle Sam, which is sad because it was like his last, featured film that he directed in '96. But like I said, though, at this time he was doing the Anchor Bay thing, and then Blue Underground came around years later, and I think he still is all involved with that stuff. So, but yeah, Maniac from 1980, starring Joe Spinell, the late Joe Spinell, of course, plays Frank Zito. Caroline Munro, who's so beautiful. Effects by Tom Savini, who also actually stars in the film for a scene.
One of the best head explosion scenes of all time.
Yeah, for one amazingly memorable scene. Yep. And yeah, so synopsis. A psychotic man troubled by his childhood abuse, loose in New York City, kills young women and takes their scalps as trophies. Will he find the perfect woman in a photographer and end his killing spree? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Thoughts on Maniac?
Well, I want to know, Moods, how many times have you watched Maniac now?
Man, I don't even know if I could put a number on it. But I will say, since you mentioned that this time watching Maniac was the best looking that I've ever seen it in.
Yeah.
So I watched the new Blue Underground 4K transfer of it, and it's amazing how much different it looks. It actually looks like legit, man.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic looking. The sound is amazing. Oh, I was just so impressed by watching it. They did a great job, because I have the previous 2 Maniac Blu-rays also, so I have this on Blu-ray 3 times.
Yeah.
And, you know...
What 2 Blu-rays were there?
There's a 25th anniversary, and then there's just a normal edition.
Yeah, Blue Underground.
Oh, really?
And those were obviously different prints. See, the difference is they actually found a workable print for this, which enabled them to do this awesome 4K transfer, which is awesome because they didn't think there was any good ones left. So that's awesome how these things always just kind of pop up and make our lives awesome again. But yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
answer
watched
the
that
question.
new version as well.
How many times have you seen Maniac?
I've only seen it 3 times.
I know, but it's one of Moods' favorite movies, so I was curious how many times you've seen it.
Oh, I probably watched
He said he couldn't put a number on it.
I don't even know.
100?
No, probably not. Like, legitimately not that much.
Yeah.
I mean, people say it all the time, like, man, I've seen this movie 100 times. I'm like,
yeah.
But have you? You know, like 100
Yeah,
a lot of
I've
times.
only seen a couple films 100 times. Like,
I think, honestly, the
maybe
films
2
I've
or
watched the
3.
most ever in my life is probably the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I used to
Really?
watch them
What about
all
Terror
the time.
Vision?
Oh, I've seen that like way too many times too, but I used to watch those movies all the time growing up.
the most I've ever watched was Elm Street and Friday films, and then the Goonies and Back to the Future and Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket's definitely my most watched ever, probably over 100 times.
Damn, that's crazy. Wow, that's a lot of times for Full Metal Jacket, man.
Dude, one time I played Scream, probably over 100.
Yeah, one time you watched Full Metal Jacket like twice in a row.
Dude, I watched no lie, I watched Full Metal Jacket an entire weekend in a row before.
Remember that time we were fucking Skyping and I watched Return of the Living Dead like 4 times in a row?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, too. That's another one I've watched way too many goddamn times. To the point I actually know the dialogue.
But I think
like,
Elm
word for
Street, I've watched Elm Street 4 probably like 30 or 40 times.
Part 4.
And yeah, that's definitely my most watched out of them. And then part 2 probably another 20 or 30 times.
Interesting.
Part 3 probably 20 or 30. Part 6 probably 20.
But yeah, man, getting back to the featured reviews here, Maniac 1980. Man, I mean, it's just, you know, it's a pretty basic story. You know, we've got a guy that's obviously suffering from childhood trauma. You know, his mom was responsible for his childhood trauma that fucked him up to the point where he became a serial killer, essentially.
Yeah.
But, you know, he doesn't just kill anybody. He kills specifically women because, you know, he obviously had it out for his mom.
Yeah.
One thing I've always loved about this movie is Old New York. It's so gritty, man. William Lustig captures that.
And Frank Hemenlader.
Yeah,
them too, man.
they're so good at just capturing 42nd Street.
Because it's their city. And Larry Cohen. Larry Cohen, too.
Oh, Larry
that
Cohen.
was like their city, so.
Larry Cohen was like, he might even be the best guerrilla filmmaker of all time.
Oh, ever.
Oh man, in the new documentary that they
yeah, I know. I've watched it 3 times.
Yeah, it's so good, man. Larry Cohen's amazing. Like you learn it, you gain such an appreciation for his films after watching that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like William Lustig here, man. Same thing. Those guys are all masters of capturing their city that they love and putting it on film and stuff. And it's just great. It's like this story fits into that New York setting so fucking perfect, man. And it's gritty. It's amazing. It's casted perfectly. Joe Spinell absolutely knocks us out the park. It's crazy to think too, you know, where Joe Spinell came from. Like, I mean, he was in Rocky and he was in, you know, Godfather.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
He was
Nest.
like in all these, you know, Academy Award winning films, and then he went and got this starring role.
Well, he was in that one film that Brandon sent us too, that Ninth Configuration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird movie.
But this was his very first starring role. He always played, you know, these kind of smaller roles in films, and really good. He was always good in these films, but, you know, I'm glad that William Lustig gave him a shot to, you know, have the lead in the film, because I think he just absolutely, he's kind of, to me, what makes the movie. You know, his performance is
fucking Joe Spinell?
Yeah.
Well, I would hope so. You
Hell,
spend so much
fucking
time with
man.
him.
Joe
Joe
Spinell.
Spinell is
He's so
what I love
believable.
so
He's
much
so
about,
believable.
like, and we'll talk about the differences in the two, leads, but I think that this works so well because of how just gross he looks, like how just terrifyingly creepy he looks. Like, sometimes serial killers look like Ted Bundy, other times they look like John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, in this case, that we have more of a John Wayne Gacy.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's great.
What I find interesting is that they picked two polar opposite kind of looking characters in both of these movies. On one end, you have Joe Spinell, who is crazy looking, kind of crazy and dirty, and then with the remake, decided to go with a kind of a different kind of looking character, kind of a pretty boy kind of character.
Yeah,
it's super interesting.
Yeah, I think that was
the same characters.
Move,
how you could have the same characters just in a different, looking different, and still have the same effect. Yeah, super interesting in that sense.
But Joe Spinell actually was a little disappointed in this film after it came out. From what I understand, he was a very sensitive person. And a lot of women spoke out against this film. Think of Roger Ebert and Siskel and stuff. Women in horror. What did they call them? Whatever whatever word women danger films. That's what they call them. I guess a lot of women activist groups spoke out against this film, and I guess he was kind of upset about that because he wanted to be liked and everybody was hating him. So I saw that.
I can definitely see the women's activists attacking this movie because it's pretty brutal. It is pretty brutal.
Oh, yeah.
The violence against women and stuff. I mean, and that's one thing I always loved about this film that actually kind of plays into a certain aspect of the film too later on at the end, but which I've never understood. It doesn't even make any fucking sense whatsoever. But one thing I liked about the approach with, Frank Zito's character is that he doesn't have an MO. He fucking kills. All his victims are killed in different ways. I love that.
But he does have an MO. He cuts the top of their heads off.
Yeah, but he kills them in different ways. A lot of serial killers will kill the exact. I mean, that's very common in serial killers to take a trophy, right? Some will take panties or whatever. He just takes their scalps. Because he wants the victims more or less to keep living with them,
Yeah.
So, it makes sense, but I like the fact that he kills in completely different ways. It's awesome. I love that shit.
Yeah, man. He's definitely disturbed. So believable too. Joe Spinell's performance is, and this film gets lumped in with slasher films, but it definitely is a step ahead of slasher films. It is a slasher film at times, but psychological slasher for sure. And this film in particular is well above and beyond a standard slasher film. The standard slasher tropes, it got more going on in it.
It's a psychological character study is essentially what it is. It's straight psychological. We get to see all the kind of ups and downs of his character. In the beginning of the film, we get to see, the opening scene, man, the cinematography is fantastic in that scene, by the way, on the beach where he ends up killing this couple. Which it's actually kind of funny because, the second person in the film he kills actually is the boyfriend, but I guess you kind of have to take him out, really. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe not, but love that scene, man. It's really good stuff. Straight up psychological, man. All these up and downs. It's interesting that they wrote into the script, him trying to have a relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's a ballsy attempt with this type of character because for the first half of the film, we don't even get to see Carolyn Monroe until probably more than halfway through the movie when he discovers her. Mm-hmm. And then he just kind of switches, he's really kind of trying to work something out with himself. He knows psychologically that there's obviously things that are completely wrong, but I think deep down he wants something to work, but he also knows that it just can't work like that either. I think it's a very ballsy attempt in the film to do that. And I think that Lustig does a good job with not overdoing it. Not taking away from this character study and putting in this this ultimately love story that can kind of ruin the aspect of the direct character study of Frank Zito, right? And I like the way that all that shit plays out. It's kind of cool. It's actually a really, really well made film. It's, you know, it's got really great pacing in it too. It's never really any downtime. It kind of goes from scene to scene. And I think one of the greatest scenes in this movie is when he's talking to the girl and he just starts spewing out. He's like, I told you not to go out tonight. This is going to happen. He just kind of fucking starts losing his shit. And you're just like, wow, dude, like you're fucked. Like straight fucked up, man. Absolutely love it, man. It's great.
Yeah. I think that this film is super gritty and raw, very violent. I mean, we've talked about the shotgun death and I just think that when you title a film like Maniac, there's not much of a better, and you see that cover art, there's not much of a better fitting like film than with the title. Like it truly lives up to its title. Like this is the exact film I picture whenever I think of the title Maniac. It's about a fucking maniac and his dealing with that in New York and all these different people that he runs into, and essentially his, you know, tragic demise by the end of it. Like you never hate it. It's so interesting too to take this film and follow the killer, because when do you do that in slasher films in 1980? You know what I mean? Like you don't follow Jason. You don't follow Freddy. You don't follow Michael. You don't follow.
That's why this approach is so different, man. You know,
the guy from the Valentine movie, My Bloody Valentine, Henry Warden.
Yeah,
Harry Warden.
Harry. But you're actually following Frank Zito this entire time. It just didn't seem like that happened back then.
No.
Like the closest you could say is like we follow Norman Bates, but he wasn't really like a killer like this.
But this is more. But this is like more an in-depth character study of just following this guy's daily activities. You know, from day to day, scene to scene.
Come out?
I mean, this guy is so fucking disturbed. It's kind of interesting. You don't even really know exactly what he does outside of killing. Because it wasn't really a focus. It didn't need to be a focus. It was just, let's focus on this aspect and not take away from the Zito character. I love that. It's like, yeah, it's insane. Like, you don't see too many of these movies where you see the serial killer preparing himself to go out and kill with a gun. Like
you don't blow people's heads off.
You know, it's just something you don't see in films very often, right? Usually, you know, people are getting stabbed, strangled, you know, smaller type weapons.
Well, that's just a good way to get caught, you know.
And it's really crazy how he just like literally just runs, hops up on the car, and just fucking blasts Tom Savini in the face.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie actually is when Savini and his girlfriend are making out in the back of the car there, and she's like, "Oh, I see somebody," and the way that shot, you just see Spinell's fucking ugly ass face is kind of peeking in the vehicle, but it looks creepy as shit. And then to top that off, that scene is great right there because she kind of disappears, and they're like, "Well, we need to get out of here." Savini gets in the driver's seat, turns on the lights, and then you see him in this fog, and he just runs up, jumps on the hood, and boom! Fuck, what a great scene, man! One of the greatest scenes ever.
Yeah.
But you know,
I just love the tragedy with the Frank Zito character where he just looks like he's in pain. You know what I mean? Throughout the entire film.
A troubled kind of guy, so.
Yeah, he is. You know, in this movie, they don't necessarily allude to the fact either way of the demise of his mom. Unlike in the remake, they do allude to the fact that Zito killed his mom.
Do they?
Yeah.
Where?
I think towards the end of the film, they allude to the fact that he was technically responsible for his mom's demise.
I must have missed that in the 3 times or the 2 times that I've watched it.
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't remember that at all.
See, I think it's supposed to be like implied in this movie, but they don't kind of give anything.
I never
definitive
thought
away.
of it in either movie.
That he
Yeah, I didn't really think about it in the remake.
I didn't think of it in either one.
It's interesting though, because you would think that you would think of that because of, I mean, Zito's the way he is because of all his mother's abuse, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not far fetched to believe that, you know, he only took so much of it and killed his mom, and this is what started his, you know, his serial spree, you know. So, but they never kind of allude to it. I think maybe it's just implied that he killed his mom, and that he still has, you know, it being his mom, he still has feelings for her. That's why they show him going to the grave and doing some crazy ass praying and shit like that, and of course losing his shit again.
In this one, it says that his mom died in a car crash.
In which one? In this film?
Yeah.
Huh.
Does it actually say that in the movie?
I'm reading it on.
No, it doesn't say that in the movie.
Thing. I'm not sure if they actually show it, or there was a newspaper clipping or something.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I don't think that's ever alluded to.
I don't know.
Unless it isn't a newspaper clipping, I've missed it every fucking time I've watched the movie. Yeah. But I just always thought that the way Lustig told the story was that it was just implied that he probably killed his mom because of all the abuse and stuff, and it fucked his head up even more. I mean, once you're abused physically, mentally, and stuff. You know what?
I don't like thinking that. I honestly don't. I would prefer to not think that, because to me that's too much like Psycho, and I always took it as like Frank Zito was kind of contained by his mother almost, and once she died, that's when he couldn't contain himself. There was nobody there to control him anymore, and that's when he started.
But what do you mean
killing people?
But when you say contained by his mother, like, are you implying the fact that she knew how he was?
No, he was just he was just a little bit more stable because there was somebody there, and once he became lonely and alone in life, that's when he.
So you're saying that he was essentially, well, I don't know. Normal?
Not necessarily like she controlled him, just that he was more stable. And then when there's nobody there, because I always feel like Frank Zito is extremely lonely in both films. Like it's all about the loneliness of being alone and being left with nobody.
I think a little bit has to play, but you can play off it in the same aspect of, the Frank Zito character is created from all the trauma and abuse. And either way, if his mother dies or he murders her, at the end of the day, he's still going to feel that loneliness, right? Because that's what happens.
Yeah,
with a lot of
people. I don't want to think that he murdered her. I just prefer
either way, you lose someone that you theoretically love, you're going to feel that loneliness. I mean, it's showcased. He doesn't have any friends. He quite obviously doesn't have anybody else, and that was probably.
Well, I also get the sense though that it hasn't been doing this for years. Like, this is something new that's happening.
Yeah.
As you can see, like, the more that it's happening in both films, you start seeing like on the TV, the police are talking about a serial killer, and you can just see that eventually this is going to all catch up to him. It's just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect in both films. This one, you see it on the news and in newspaper clippings and stuff. And the other one, you see it, even the.
I think that's what makes them spiral even harder.
Yeah.
It's knowing knowing the fact that now they're after him. They've caught on.
Yeah, I just love both of these movies, but this one in particular for different. Like, I love its gritty and rawness and how.
The one thing about this movie that I've never liked, I do like the fact that you get to see the news clippings, you get to see the police on TV. Like, it's not a factor in the narrative. I'm really happy that Lustig stayed away from having a police investigation subplot. I think that really would have taken away from the character study of Zito, right? The cop factor is not a huge thing in the film, but the thing that's always kind of bugged me about the movie is at the end, when they find Zito on the bed, how the fuck did they find him?
Well, I just assumed that they were,
Wasn't he like screaming? So wouldn't somebody heard him screaming?
Yeah, but I mean, but that's, you could just assume that. I'm saying, like, the police, like, You know, it's presented like, oh shit, we found out where he is, and but we found him dead. You know, kind of thing.
Well, because Anna gets away, so maybe she called the cops.
Yeah, but that again, that none of that is shown, right?
Yeah, but if somebody attacks you, aren't you? You don't think you're going to report that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can lean that way, but like I said, it's not shown at all. I mean, but what about in the remake?
Well, we're not talking about the remake, though.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, we still are kind of comparing them, but I mean, there is a scene very similar in the end of the film where how do you explain the cops showing up there? They did the exact same thing, and I remember watching Maniac, the remake Maniac, for the first time and hoping that they didn't do that, and they fucking did. And I was like, that makes even a little more sense because his interest doesn't necessarily get away. So how did the cops figure out where Zito was in the remake? It's a fucking flaw.
I don't think it is.
What do you mean? How did they find him? There's nothing alluding to the fact of any investigation.
Dude,
they just find him. Where's the investigation?
Well, you don't need to see it. I mean, how did the police find any serial killer?
Oh, come on, dude! You gotta.
Are you being serious right now?
You gotta showcase something. No, you can't just have. Okay, so you can go.
This film is not about that.
Exactly.
You're saying that
that's exactly my fucking point.
This guy.
I'm not saying that they couldn't. You need to showcase something of alluding to where he is. You can't just have the cops show up at the end of the film in his apartment and be like, "Bam, motherfucker, we got you." Doesn't that seem a little far fetched to you? New York's a big goddamn city.
Because here's the thing, dude. Every serial killer gets caught eventually, and they don't know. When you're watching it from the serial killer's perspective, right? If I'm the serial killer, I don't know the police are about to bust in on me.
Yeah, but dude, there's nothing.
It just happens.
There's nothing in the police clippings. There's nothing in the TV that says, "Hey, man, we've got a fucking major lead on this guy." Blah blah blah. It's just they're just showcasing the viewer that they know that there's a killer out there. That's it. That's it. I mean, they just show up at the apartment. It's the same in the fucking remake. It's the exact same thing. And
well, dude, I mean,
explain that to me.
The police don't. But dude, like the police don't tell you all the. Like you're looking at it as most movies are filmed, where you're like, following the police too. But like in real life, you don't know what evidence the police have against you.
Dude, it's in the movie though. That's what I'm talking about, man. Like if you don't if you don't have the police at all through the whole movie, they're not even a factor in the movie at all. And then all of a sudden they show up.
Well, I mean, we see all this we see all the like, everybody knows there's like a killer out and shit like that, and you see like on the newspaper and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm sure they're he's not very careful with his murders. He doesn't even fucking wear gloves. I assume that he's gonna get caught one day.
Okay. All right. I mean, to me, it's a flaw in both films. It really is.
I don't think it's a flaw in either of them because it's not part of the story.
Then why have it then? Why even have the cops show up there? If it's not a factor in the narrative whatsoever, why have the cops show up at the end? It's not needed.
Just because it's the end.
But they don't need to be there, though.
I mean, technically, they don't need to be there, but
exactly, especially in the original film where they find Zito, assume he's dead, and they just walk out. They literally shut the door behind them and just walk out.
How do you know they're not going to call the other cops or anything?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's still weird. It's a weird police procedure just to leave the room and walk out, You think you get on the radio right away and be like, oh, dude, we found the killer. He's fucking dead in a pool of blood right now.
The way that, like, I feel that it's without, I feel like they don't need to let you know that, like, it's a pressure cooker and it's all going to eventually fucking come crashing down on if he would have lived or killed himself or not. I feel like in both films that it's all going to end terribly very soon because of how often he's killing, how careless he is while killing, and I don't know. I've just always bought it as if like the police in their own
I get your point of view. I get your point of view, but to me, I think it just would have worked better if you don't even have the police show up. You know,
I mean,
especially in the remake, because you know they allude, obviously in the original film they allude to something him not necessarily being dead. Spoiler, but in the remake, he's dead, right? So the cops don't need to show up there for 2 seconds and then be like, oh, okay, fuck, got him.
I just think that it shows that no matter what happened, it was going to end. Like, his life was over. Like,
of course,
this was coming to an end.
Of course.
I've looked at it always as kind of artistic. I don't know. It just works for me. The police busting in at the end. I don't know. I just
and trust me,
liked
I'm not even one of those people that's trying to find flaws. Maniac is one of my all-time favorite movies. I just never understood the whole police showing up at the end. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like,
I think that the reason why I accept it so much is because it's told completely from the point of view of the killer in both films.
Of course.
So
yeah.
to go and step out and start following the police, if you would just throw a scene in here and there, yeah, it would make more sense. But I feel like it would take away from what the film was about.
Mm-hmm. But that's my whole point that I'm trying to make, right? I mean, if you're not going to have any point of cops, why even have that last scene? It just doesn't matter. Because
I think that people like me who watch it see that the police are probably investigating it the whole time.
Well, of course they are. I mean, I understand that. See, that's what I even have a problem with too, because I understand that. I understand that 100% that the police are obviously investigating the serial killer. 100%. We know that through video and clippings and stuff, but that's all we get. I mean, there's serial killers that have been around for fucking 20, 30 years and never got caught, right?
Zodiac.
Yeah,
right?
But not many of them, you know, and honestly, like, especially in like today's time, it's so hard to get away with shit.
Oh, for
especially
sure.
Nobody's wearing gloves. They're dropping hair everywhere. They're fucking taking scalps. I mean, you're going to get caught.
But I think that's one of the fucking coolest things that they put into the script too is the scalping.
Oh, I guess even worse in the remake,
and kind of taking that part from his victims and creating, like, kind of keeping them alive, you know, a little bit, you know. It's so fucking psychotic to do something like that and hear the voices and talk to your mannequins and shit. It's a great idea having mannequins with, you know, real skull on there. It's great, man. It's so fucking great. Awesome shit. But
all right, you want to go into ratings?
All right. Who went first last time?
Me.
Okay.
Me, so I'm up.
Sure, if you want to go.
Sure. 9.5.
Really? It's kind of surprising.
Yeah, actually, I'm a little bit surprised by that rating too. Yeah, this movie is just, oh man, there's so many damn good fucking scenes, man. Like, it's just filled with fantastic scenes, one scene to the next. Like, right up into the scene where Zito and Carolyn Monroe's character, they go to, you know, to visit his mom's grave. That cemetery, super atmospheric, awesome. Love that shit. It still shocks me to this day that they allowed her to live in the movie. I don't know why, but every time I watch it, I'm like, man, get her. I don't know. I just saw, like, and I love her, man. She's like one of my favorites in the world. I don't know.
She can call the cops.
Yeah,
that's why.
Fuck that. One of my favorite scenes in the film is like the bathroom scene. I love the cinematography, the way it kind of pans out and shit, and he fucking snags her up and stuff. It's good shit, man. But overall, man, this is just a fantastic psychological, dramatic slasher, I guess. Full of great performances, music's. I think the music in this one is just, it's so gritty and fits so well. Where in the remake it's so different, man. It's got
but it fits the character.
Yeah, it does, man. It's like a totally different.
No, I'm saying in the remake, it fits the character.
It does, man. The music fits the Spinell look. You know, it's so gritty and it's dark. It's very, very dark. Where in the remake, you know, we have a different Zito. He's very good looking, and the music is more pretty. If that makes sense, it's great. I'm also at 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm at a 9.5 out of 10 too. It's one of the best slashers ever made. One of the best horror films ever made, in my opinion. It's so good.
Is that a Hall of Famer?
It is, I believe.
Yeah, it's 28 and a half. 28 and a half is a Hall of Fame.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. You know, one thing we didn't mention actually is in the film is some of the dialogue. Man, Zito's character, like, at times is super flamboyant. And I know it might be like a little bit of an act too, and when he's dealing with the artsy stuff with Caroline Monroe's, you know, photography and stuff like that. But when he goes to visit her and he brings her that present, you know, the little stuffy or whatever. And he uses the word fabulous a lot. It's like so fucked up. It's totally of the times, like that disco era, you're using fabulous. And it's just the dialogue is like all those type of words and shit. It just fits so damn perfect, man.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Maniac 2?
It's a little bit that's been released.
Yeah, I've watched
the Mr. Robbie.
Yeah,
just a little bit of it.
The little short.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing that was ever made. It was the idea behind it was to make a teaser almost for a company so that they could produce it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of in name only, really.
Yeah.
It seemed like that he was playing a different character, but that was his response. He wanted to be more of a likable killer. And the idea was that he was a children's TV show, which, by the way, that's fucking creepy, right? Just now,
no, it's awesome.
Dressed up as a clown,
it's totally
fucking
awesome.
hosted a kids TV show. My God,
yeah, what a great idea.
But kids whose parents were abusive, he was going to track them down and kill them, and that was basically Maniac 2, Mr. Robbie. And then, of course, there's the last horror film, which has been released as Maniac 2 a few times in different countries.
Yeah.
Pretty cool film. I think I watched it for 82. But sorry, just
Hi, Anna. It's Frank. I'm sorry to bother you at this hour. I just wanted to know how long you wanted to keep the mannequins. I have another client who... Anna? What's wrong? Are you okay?
But yeah, jumping into 2012, Maniac remake, directed by Frank Caffoun. I don't know. I'm assuming he's probably French or something like that.
French-Canadian.
Produced by Alexander Aja and William Lustig.
Oh, is he?
He wrote it too.
Is he
Aja
actually,
wrote it.
Is he actually French-Canadian? He's actually not just from... He's not French?
You didn't know that, JP?
What? Yeah.
Aja wrote it too?
Yeah. No, he wrote the screenplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Underrated director, that guy.
That's interesting. Yeah, he also directed I Lived.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like that one. That one got me kicked off the list.
You know, it's funny because I enjoyed that movie, not expecting... See, it's a movie you generally like.
Yeah.
And I generally don't like, and I actually kind of enjoyed that one. Wow, two totally different movies, though.
Yeah.
And he also did P2.
P2 was cool.
Yeah.
I just got that on...
And Amityville: The Awakening.
Yeah, it's got some pretty interesting film. I didn't realize this guy was actually Canadian. I thought he was from... Oh, fuck, that's weird. So, anyways, I mean... We don't really need to do a synopsis of Maniac. It's pretty much the exact same core story. You know, Frank Zito killing
bitches.
Yeah,
dude.
He's into maniacs. He's into.
I love this mannequins. Movie so much, dude. My God, this is one of the best fucking movies ever, dude. Dude, every fucking scene is shot so well. The lighting, it's fucking beautiful to look at. The music, everything about this movie is fucking amazing.
I think truly
I love it.
The best thing about this movie is the style approach to the film.
Well, it's all first person.
For the most part.
For the most part.
It's mostly done POV. The scenes that we get to see Zito's face in, of course, played by...
Elijah Wood.
It mostly reflections. There is a scene actually where he kills a girl in a parking lot where the camera actually pans right around and you get to see him straight on, which is actually kind of cool. And of course the last famous scene where he's getting attacked by his demons. that's it. But the style approach to this movie is so fucking unique and so cool, man. It's really inventive to do something like that. And I think it works so damn well.
Oh my dude.
It really does. It keeps your attention in the film, like, so you're like, wow, they're ever gonna show his face? It's like, holy shit, this is really damn cool. I think you don't even get to see his face until like 15 minutes into the movie or something. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, but isn't that most first person shot films?
But which ones? Where are there first person shot films?
Hotel Inferno, Hardcore Henry. What was that one that takes place on You Are Not Alone? That's shot in first person.
Yeah, but that's like straight first person type shooter type film. Like this one's more stylistic because they're actually showing the reflections. They're using rear view mirrors and they're using mirrors on roofs and every opportunity. You got to come up with these ideas in a very quirky and very.
I'm not saying it's not the best shot of those kind of films, but
you're seeing like, I mean, dude. There's so much to like about this movie, like from the fucking jump, man. Every scene, the title sequence, like the lights, and like the scene where he's following the girl in the like subway where nobody's around, like all the fluorescent light. It's just the way that they fucking do that. Like you talk about gritty 80s New York, they capture some kind of cold, like nighttime. Like the skyline and the lights at the nighttime and stuff, they do such a good job.
Where
in
does
this one
actually take place?
I think it's L.A.
Is it,
because the guy on the subway is reading a L.A. Times newspaper, and it's not like a popular newspaper.
I don't even think I even noticed that, but yeah, I mean,
it is set in Los Angeles actually.
Okay,
yeah.
Because I would think of if he was in L.A., he'd be reading the New York Times. I thought that was interesting
because that's funny to say it looks cold and shit because it's completely not cold there. But
no, I don't mean like cold. I mean like cool, like windy.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Like a cool breezy night. Like that's what this whole film feels like.
Rewatching it last night actually kind of made me laugh. Actually, that scene we were talking about in the train station or whatever. It reminded me of watching Halloween 2 because I'm like, there's nobody fucking around. I'm like, that's insane. You're in a big ass city like that and you're not coming across one person. That's a long scene, to be running through an entire train station in a big city like that. I mean, you're probably going to come across one or two people. I mean, I've rode the SkyTrain super late at nighttime too. And it can be pretty desolate and pretty dead and shit like that, but you always come across somebody. There's always somebody around. Like, I got that feeling. I was like, wow, it's very Halloween too. You're in a hospital with nobody around. That's weird.
Yeah, no, I've always thought like very unlikely that nobody would be around, but I just don't care. Man, I mean, dude, this thing is so amazing to me. Like watching it, I'm just enthralled the entire time. From early on where you see the first kill where he's just the stalking is so good in this film, and he's in his van and he sees that girl and he just starts following her, and then he's like, I know where you live. Like he's talking to himself. He goes up to her apartment. He just stands behind her. So first he cuts the lights off, stands behind her, breathes a little bit. She hears the breathing, finally turns around and knife right up through the fucking mouth, dude. It's so good. So then he scalps her.
My question about that scene, I know we've talked about this before, and I tried to remember. I didn't even really look into it, but the reason why they CG'd the scalping in that part.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's CG'd in a couple parts. I think
it just there's CG throughout this entire film, but I just think that it looks really good. Well, it's really practicals with CG. It's
I think the reason why that part looks so CG though, I swear I read somewhere one time that they had done a practical for it, and it didn't turn out very well, so they actually put the CG over it.
It is practical with CG.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell it is. But I think they just kind of overpowered on the CG because the practical effect didn't turn out that well and stuff. But I posted this picture on Instagram last night about Maniac versus Maniac. And of course, it started up a huge conversation. People were like fucking commenting on left and right. And someone had mentioned that they started to watch it when it came out. And they got as far as that scene. They're like, fuck this. I can't handle the CG. And they turned it off and never watched it again.
That CG looks amazing.
I was like, holy shit. I'm like, wow, that's very... don't have a good attention, do you?
You can tell it's CG, but I mean, that is a really good CG effect.
I mean, for the most part, the film is pretty much practical. I mean, there's a scene where he puts the the butcher knife, I believe, into that guy's
In
face.
the mouth.
That's definitely CG a little bit there.
But somehow he gets up and it's gone, and he fucks him up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, the effects for the most part are definitely not on par with the original film. I mean, you don't have Tom Savini working on this movie. I think that's what separates these movies big time, is the effects departments. I mean, the original
stupid headache thing, man.
I think all
That's
the
one
kills.
part I don't like about this movie either. Like they could have cut that out and it would have been like perfectly fine.
What?
The whole taking a pill migraine kind of thing.
Why?
I don't know. What did it add to the movie?
Because he's fucking. It's showing that he's fucking psycho, dude.
But
He
don't we
can't
already know that he's
function.
psycho? That he's going and killing all these women, cutting their heads off. Like, what does that
Well,
add?
it
to
shows
the
that
narrative?
it shows that he has anxiety and he freaks out in situations.
He gets
Like,
migraines. He gets migraines because he needs to kill.
yeah, he starts freaking out and he's
He gets
like,
migraines because he needs to kill.
Well,
Doesn't
well,
make
he-
any sense to me.
What do you mean? He has anxiety, and when he's not killing, his fucking brain's overact. He's getting migraines from it, man.
he's just a crazy fucking person, dude. Like, I mean, he's talking to people and he's starting to see their fucking scalps getting scalped.
I'm not
while
saying
he's
that.
talking.
I'm not saying like he's not crazy or anything. I don't know. I think they could have just cut that out and it would have been perfectly
I think it has a
fine
little
the
bit
way
to do with it,
was.
man. I mean, the scenes that they're showing where he's getting like all agitated and he's getting migraines and stuff it's kind of the build-ups to when he's killing. And
Yeah.
shit like that too, right? So
Yeah, he's unstable, and you know that.
But we already know he's unstable though.
Yeah, but
it's just one more thing to
it's
add
just
to
more
it, though.
one more thing to add to it. Dude.
it really
It's-
is, man. I mean, he even says he's like he suffers from a whole pile of shit. Obviously, he says he's got migraines since he was a kid and shit. But I think they get to the point where he gets super agitated and he really, he's got to take his shit.
Yeah,
When
he's
building up.
lonely, he's depressed, he has anxiety, he gets bad headaches. Like, it's just all this on top of the fact that he's, dealing with some traumatic shit that went on with his mom, and you got fucking a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
And, I love the scene where he meets the girl online and she plays the Goodbye Horses song. It's shot really well. She's like dancing.
Well, I
and
can see how this film is highly influenced by the fuck's his name? The guy who did Drive. Like, this movie has very
Winding
similar
Refn?
aesthetics to them. Yeah, this movie has very similar aesthetics and soundtrack to that movie, especially the soundtrack. Like, this soundtrack.
But this is when the synth soundtrack was really making a huge comeback. I mean, if you look in the 80s and stuff, synth soundtrack was the norm. That's just what composers used. Synth was such a big thing, right? But
I think like Drive really brought it back. That film. It's like
when did Drive come out though? What year?
2012.
So
No,
was
2011. 2011.
So it was just before this movie came out. Yeah, I mean, synth soundtracks have been very, very prevalent in the last 10 years, I would say at least.
Yeah.
Because I mean, music is one thing I notice and that I always notice in films. Sometimes it makes or breaks movies for me too. Shitty soundtracks fucking kill my mentality when I watch movies.
I fucking love Drive, man. That
But
movie's
this
so good.
fucking, and I get it, man. It's totally relatable to that too. Drive soundtrack is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love it, and it definitely carries over. It's in good contrast to this film too. The soundtrack is amazing. It's so damn catchy. It's awesome. I'm a sucker for synth soundtracks, and I think it's appropriate that they went that route and didn't use a dark ass soundtrack, because in this setting, it's not that gritty fucking New York setting where in the original, I think the soundtrack fits perfectly from the locations, and here it's cleaner. It's more upscale. He's dealing with more
Because it
upscale
fits the
people.
character, though.
He's dealing with like Marilyn Manson said, you're dealing with the beautiful people. And that's who he goes after. He goes after beautiful people and shit.
And you know what? I love what they like when you talk about pure remake and like what you take from a film and expand upon. This film really does a great job with taking the idea of the mannequins and fleshing it out a little bit more. Like, he has a mannequin shop, and it makes sense why he has all these mannequins. He's actually restoring retro mannequins from the 30s and 40s and 50s, and it makes more sense for the relationship with Anna. The actual relationship with Anna actually feels a little bit more natural in this one. And her using the mannequins for her art show, and like this whole film is very artistic, and
He
it
brings
makes
up
sense
that idea though, right? Doesn't he mention it to her? He's like, yeah, I can lend you some.
She
She
asks.
mentions it. Yeah.
Oh, is it her? Okay.
Yeah, she asks him if she can use some, but she's just.
I like the fact that they used, foreign girls, again.
French.
Yeah, she's French, and in the original film, of course, Carolyn Monroe's British. So that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, and I love that, like, this film has such a visual, artistic style, but also the characters are dealing with art, and, like, every kill and every setup is very beautiful. It's beautiful violence is the best way to describe it. It's like the scene where he goes into the one woman's room while she's bathing in the bathtub, and he like nudges the glass into her hand, and he starts feeling the water. Like, it's just so creepy, but also visually so appealing. With the music, and then he lifts his hand up, and the little droplets. Right? Imagine laying there in the bath with the rag over your face and hearing the little droplets, and being like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck? Why is there droplets?" And then she takes the thing off, screams, and he grabs her and ties her up and fucking scalps her. It's just there's scene after scene after scene.
That was the old bitch, right? That was the old.
That was the agent.
See, that's actually quite interesting. That kill in the movie is where they kind of elevated the character of Zito a little bit, because in the original film, the majority of, pretty much all the killings are pretty much random. They're not motivated by anger.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like in the original film, he's pretty much doing a random. And that kill in particular in the remake is completely spawned from anger. It spawns from a conversation that he has with her. She's totally talking down to him because he deals with mannequins, and she's like, she's making fun of him, like, what do you go dumpster diving and grab these? He's like, actually, no, I pick these things up and I restore myself. And she's totally making fun of him right to his face, right? And then he ultimately ends up,
well, it actually
her.
is interesting that you mention that, because not only does it go against his MO of randomness, it also goes against his MO of young girls, because it even says in the newspaper clippings or on TV or something that the killer is specifically targeting young, pretty girls.
Yeah.
And she's not young.
Yeah.
And that was pretty interesting that I thought about that, and I'd noticed that too.
And it plays right into the fact that it was spawned from anger. It was a revenge killing, and it's totally interesting they put that in there, because it's a little bit out of character for him, because that's not really what he was about. But
but I think it's also the situation he's in is out of character of himself, because he's falling for this girl, which is not in his character.
Yeah.
So he's doing things that are out of character at this point in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Achilles tendon slice, and then can we talk, like, is the shot of the silhouette in the the car window,
the reflection,
not the fucking best nod in history to another to another film? Like, is that not the fucking most genius thing ever written?
It really is, because it's not copycat. It's not copying a kill, paying homage. Like, what they probably could have done?
What?
They could have done the head explosion type kill and shit, but they didn't. And it's a good thing they didn't. Why not just pay homage to the fucking iconic poster art?
Dude, I thought that was one of the most creative, nods of all time.
Who does that? Who does that? Generally, people rip off the remakes.
Even think of doing that, like, to even like get that idea in your head, like, how can we pay homage, and to think of it that way was just brilliant. And by the way, that kill is so good too, where he slices the Achilles tendon and just starts stabbing the shit out of her.
It's a brutal kill,
it's so
man.
good. Yeah, brutal. I love it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, instead of taking the scalp, he takes the whole fucking head. Pretty much. It's like, holy shit, it got real there, man. It's nuts. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I just love the stalking scenes, and just there's so much I love about this movie, man. It just works on every level.
Dr. Caligari was playing.
Yeah, Dr. Caligari.
I don't think I got the rights, so.
It does, in the credits, it does have.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's weird because it's public domain, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah.
I don't
like the original. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your biggest? Well, like I think Marco wanted to know how this didn't make your top 10 of 2013.
I don't know. I think I was irresponsible at the time and didn't really care too much. It's the same reason during that era that, you know, it's just the era. Of course, now it would probably be on my list. I don't think I love it as much as you two love it, but it's still like a well-made film, of course. And we talked about the brutalness and everything like that. I just think on a personal level, I don't love it as much as you guys love it.
It surprises me because of how well it's shot, how interesting it's shot, how, you know, the music plays with each of the murders. And it's like pieces of a puzzle just arranged perfectly throughout the entire movie. Like every scene, every single scene in this movie is so well done.
You know, it's an interesting scene in this film that kind of elevated that whole story of, you know, Sito's backstory, and it's summed up in one scene in this film. It's a flashback scene where he's a kid, 10 years old maybe.
Yeah, and his mom's fucking on the street.
Yeah, like in a public setting, like right on the fucking, it's like Sunset Boulevard, and she's getting fucking railed. Mm-hmm. And he's like watching it and shit. It's like, yeah, that'll fuck you up. And it's cool that they tell it like that too, because, you know, a lot of these killings are, you know, they end up being sexual and things like that, right? It kind of plays into the whole reason of why he's doing this and shit. I like that. I like that they showed that. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But
ratings,
moods.
Yeah, it's a good film, man. I think it's, you know, overall the standout thing for me is the cinematography and the music. It's fantastic. I do think that that fucking Frodo does a good job in the film. Like it's such a, I'll still never forget when I first found out that he was going to be playing Frank Zito, and I was like, what the fuck? How is that going to work? It does.
Well, you barely see him.
It totally works. I mean, you get to see enough of him, right?
You hear his voice, I guess.
Yeah. Pulls it off pretty well, though.
It works so well in its own way. It's different, but
it really does. Yeah. It really does. Yeah, you know, overall, it's still a really fantastic film. I don't know if it would still make my top or my number one of 12, or when did this go? 13?
Well, technically we did it in 13, but if we did it retroactively, now it would be 12.
Yeah, it'd be 12. I mean, I'd have to look at the other films that even came out that year. I just remember it being number one in 13. But I don't think that we also prepped as much as we did, that we do now for those shows. I think it's pretty obvious that we didn't. But still a really fantastic film. A really great and noteworthy remake. You know, put this in a pile of great remakes and stuff. I mean, there is people out there that don't care for this film, and I still don't understand why. You know, so many people have that mentality. It's like, you know, the original is so fucking good, you know, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but why can't the remake be good too?
Well, you just watched the Hills Have Eyes remake. Is it as good as the original?
I love the remake, man. I think it's great. You know, I mean, I go back and forth on him too. I always bust Zach's balls because he like flat out says he loves the remake more than the original film. I'm like, really?
I do.
I'm like, yeah. I mean,
Joe Bob does too.
I understand that. I understand completely why. You know, and I might even change my mind last night too.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a really great and well done film. And this one's on the same level. I don't think it's as good as the original film. It has its moments though. It really does. You know, I still looking back on this in retrospect, like, you know, the killings are brutal, but they definitely didn't. It was probably a style choice not to, you know, overtake the original. I mean, the original film was so fucking gory, man. It really is. There's some nasty ass gore in this one. This one is gory at times, but it's not that elevated level. It's probably a style choice. 9 out of 10.
So you actually went down a half point.
Yeah.
Dude, I like this one more than the original, honestly. I think it's a better movie. Wow. I just love everything about it. There's nothing that I don't like about this one. I love both films almost equally, but this one just edges it out for me. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best remake ever made, and I give it a 10.
God damn! So you like this one more than the Chainsaw remake?
I gave that a 10 too.
That's what I'm saying. But do you like it
Well,
more?
the Chainsaw remake isn't better than the original Chainsaw. That's the only difference here.
Yeah. I was not expecting to come into the 10. Holy shit, that just blew my fucking mind.
Well, I gave it a 9.5 back in 2013, but
so
watching
you went
time,
the opposite way. I went down half and you went up half. So you just took my 0.5.
Yeah, I did.
There you go. You're sharing. Sharing is caring. 8 from me.
I hate both of you guys.
Dude, Jeremy's the one that fucked it for the Hall of Fame. 8? There you go. You can't say shit to me, man. 9's a pretty fair fucking score.
Get out
9's
here.
a pretty fucking fair score. Even if I stuck with my 9.5, it still doesn't make the Hall of Fame.
Ridiculous.
Coming from the guy who gave fucking Cremator 6.
Yeah, because it's fucking boring and nothing happens.
Oh, fuck.
Full of shit.
So much happens there. Oh, my God.
And Hands of Steel of 4.
Yeah, that movie sucked too.
Oh, my God. You don't like to have fun.
I mean, I could see Hands of Steel being low scored, but I mean, 4 does seem pretty even for you. That's pretty low.
I'm fucking pissed Maniac's not in the Hall of Fame.
I'm a little bit shocked.
So mad.
I thought Jeremy liked it more, to be honest. But
I don't know why he doesn't. It's so good. It seems right up his alley too. It just seems like a film he would love. I guess not though.
Maybe I'll have to watch it again in 5 years. You don't give many 10s, so it has to be good.
I don't give too many, but
I'll be curious how many 10s you've given it. Derek, where's Derek when we need him? How many 10s have JP given?
Probably less than Moods, but not less than you, I'd say.
I haven't given a 10 in a long time though.
Because I haven't given
that many.
I don't think I gave 1 10 last year.
What did you have? What did you give a 10 to?
I don't think I gave 1 10 last year. I gave 2 in 2018.
Actually, in the last 2 years, like, even on the top 10 shows, I've given some top 10s.
Yeah, you gave Brimstone a 10. What was your number 1 last year?
Brimstone.
I gave Sacred Deer a 10 and Black Coat's Daughter a 10. Those are the only 2 films I gave a 10 last year.
No, I'm saying what was Moods' that wasn't last year.
I know. I'm saying I didn't give 1 10 last year.
What was last year? I'm asking you.
What did Moods give number 1 last year?
Both of you guys. Jesus,
I gave Assassination Nation.
And what'd you have, Moods?
I don't remember. What the hell was my number 1 last year? I
fucking
don't remember it now.
Hereditary.
Oh yeah, Hereditary.
Oh,
yeah, shit. I was like trying to think of what the hell last year was. Fuck.
I don't remember. Did I give it a 10?
I gave Hereditary a 10.
Okay, but for the longest time, I didn't give a 10 in 2016, 2015, 2014, or 2012.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
All of them. In fact, my number I had 9.5 for The Witch in 2016. 2015, I had my number 1 was Landmine Goes Click at 9.5, and then in 2014, The Sacrament at a 9. My first 10 I ever gave in a year, modern year, was 2017, which was It Comes at Night.
I've only given 29 out of 918 films 5 stars.
Yeah, but that's different because 9.5 hits 5 as well.
No, not for me. 9.5s. I only give 5 stars to 10 rated films.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And how many did you give?
You still got
29.
You got to update the website here, man.
I know. I'm way behind.
But I have Threads. Threads is like one of my favorite newly discovered films, man. That movie's amazing. That's a 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's only had one that year, Brimstone. Yeah.
I love Threads, man. That movie's so fucking good.
Oh, man, that movie's fucked.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's hard to believe that was a TV movie, man. That is
I know.
crazy, dude.
Even JP gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm the one that told you to watch it. You fuck.
That would be a fun show if someone would pick that for a top 10 TV horror films. All time.
Unfortunately, we can't do that, or else we get say we stole it from Exploding Heads. So. But it doesn't matter because we're still the #1 Patreon anyway.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit, that's so... Or JP's gonna be fuming about that for a while now.
What?
That's alright.
You're fucking 8. He gives a 10, you give an 8. That's just fucking...
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad I was where I was, because holy shit, man. Fuck.
I've given 60 films out of over 1,500 a 5, but like I said, 9.5s fit there too. So probably cut that in half. Dude, what the fuck, man? I wanted Maniac to be in the Hall of Fame so bad. Where's Brandon? I knew I should have pulled Brandon or Carly or somebody onto this show. It's bullshit.
Does Carly like it as much as you do?
I think so. And Brandon, it was his #1 slasher of all time, so.
We need some more fucking shit picks, man. We got to build up this Hall of Fame. This is bullshit.
Yeah?
Well, hopefully at the end of March.
Well, I guess there still is some to add to this, isn't there? Last ones are Puppet Master.
Is there?
Yeah.
Am I caught up?
Yeah, I think there's one that we've added.
Yeah, there's definitely something that we added recently.
Didn't we add one recently?
What was it?
Give me a minute.
Oh yeah, there was something. We gave it. It was like
4. It was 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was like the highest Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm
ever.
trying to think of what it was now. I can't remember.
It was just recently.
It had to be a feature review, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Gorda.
It was a bonus review. It was the bonus review.
Gorda.
Yeah, the Thai film.
The Thai film. With a 9.5 out of 10, 30.
Yeah, that was from the Thing show. That's right.
Yeah, I really need to update not only the ratings, but I don't have the 2018 list. I don't have the 1982 list on there yet.
Yeah. You have episode 151 under the episodes.
Yeah, that's 2 top 10 lists. Oof, you don't want to get that too far behind.
I should be caught up almost on the episodes, I think.
No, if you click on episodes, it's only up to 151.
No, that's not the right place.
Where do you click episodes on the top? Where else would you click on it?
No, I just didn't. I didn't add them over there. Yeah, but they're on the site.
Well, don't you think you should add them over there?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I could add them. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, am I doing my outro?
Yeah, man, that's it for episode 156, OG vs. Remake, Maniac. Baby, take us out.
Okay, thank you everybody for listening to episode 156 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. If you want to follow the man Moods himself, you could do so at youtube.com/moods616 and go over there and tell me if you can be better at his intros. As always, you can follow JP on his channel, youtube.com/doubleshotj. You can follow me on my channel, but I haven't uploaded a video in 15 months, youtube.com/NESRuler22. And as always, if you have any questions that you want to leave as a voicemail and your name is not Peter, you could do so at 724-426-6665. Leave us any questions you have at the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror at gmail.com. That's the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror at gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/22 Shots Podcast. Join us on the Facebook page, facebook.com, search bar 22 Shots Podcast. Join us on the Discords, even though Moods never will put the link down below. The link will be down below, hopefully. And as always, please support the Patreon to get the sand sucked out of my vagina. Patreon.com/22 Shots Podcast. That should do it, everybody, for episode 156 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. We'll be back next week with the Dead franchise. Oh, yeah, buddy.
Nugs.
I would like to take this opportunity to explain why farts are funny and queefs are not. Men have always joked about farts, and we in fact name our farts. We have the squeaker, and then there's the foghorn, and the don't be scared, And of course, there's the...
Excuse me. Well, if that really is your argument, it isn't a very sound one. Women name their queefs, too.
That's what we do.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. For instance, we have the sneezing unicorn. And the resuscitator.
Nick, stop it, lady!
That's not the same! We've got the Chinese firecracker!
That's all well and good, but we can do the road warrior.
No! We go in! We kill! No more talk! We kill! Soon, my dog of war, but we have to do it my way. You just wait!
Ah! Jesus Christ!